Hey everyone, just real quick here at the top of the show, I wanted to let everybody know we're starting a new clips channel. Should be a link showing up top here somewhere. It's to try and find an audience that's looking for shorter content. So if you're here, you probably like the longer stuff. But if you could help us out with a sub, some likes, comment or two, might help the channel gain some initial traction. So if you can help us out, please do. And if you didn't know, live episodes are at twitch.tv/blazeandbob, usually Friday and Saturday nights. Take it easy.
Oh wow, you hear it.
Welcome to Warcraft Reloaded, a podcast brought to you by Mash Those Buttons, covering World of Warcraft Classic and its community. I am Bobby, also known as Blaze and Bob, and today we are joined by Mel, aka Mellerina. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Excited to be here.
We had not just Mel, but we have a huge cast today. We have the house is full of many heroes. First off, we have GM of Varg now, Harskare. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me on this exciting episode.
Thank you for coming. Thank you, all of you. We also have the infamous Defcamp. How you doing?
I'm doing very well today. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. And we have Melderon. How you doing?
Hey, how's everyone going? Hope you're having a good day.
And we have the one and only The Yip Show, aka Ryan or Yip. How you doing?
Hello. I got tricked on here again. So.
You like how Bob made you last even after the three other people that are on the podcast? I'm just throwing that out there.
That's for last. When there's three, there's more contention, but when there's this many,
the best.
That's a good one.
When Yip came on for episode 100, chat goes, okay, blink twice if you're being held against your will. It was so good. It was so good. But yeah, we have a jam-packed episode today. First off, I would like to remind everybody we do stream live on twitch.tv/blazeandbob. That's BLAZZINBOB. We encourage you guys to come and chat along with the show. It's a good time. For the show today, we're going to skip what we've been doing in WoW. We're going to do a real quick announcement from Melderon. Then we're going to go straight into the news because there's a lot. And then at the end of the show, in discussion, we are going to go through. Basically, our two guilds were kind of neck and neck with progression. Like we got Muru down a day before them. They got KJ down a day before us. It was just kind of really, the same type of struggle, kind of. So we're just gonna talk about that at the end, and that's going to be the show today. So let's strap in. Melderon, do you want to take the floor?
Wow. Okay. How can I? Okay, so I guess I'll start by saying that about a year and a half ago, I decided to stop making content for World of Warcraft. And there's a lot of reasons why. I mean, what was happening in the Blizzard didn't help, but just just other stuff was happening in my life that really impeded me from doing that. And the pandemic, as terrible as it was, really, and I'm sure a lot of WoW players feel this way, really allowed WoW players to be WoW players. And
that's so true.
Oh my God. Looking back, I don't know if I could have done any of what I did if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
And
queues and all that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was seriously a perfect storm. And then as things got more normal, I realized how much less time I had. So it's gotten to the point where I've actually realized, it took me a long time to realize this, but gaming, in general, not just WoW, but especially an MMO like World of Warcraft, is just not conducive with my life anymore at all. So I actually have quit WoW as of 3 days ago. I quit, guild leading. I canceled my sub, everything. And I think, what I wanted to make sure was I wanted to make sure my guild saw the content and killed all of it. And then I could just, I delivered something to those people that I promised them, and now I can kind of leave. I did originally promise that it would be Heroic Lich King before I quit, but I just can't do it another year and a half, 2 years. It's just not feasible for me with work and with everything else in my life. It's just too much. So I guess what I'm saying is this is probably, I'm not going to say forever because you never know what happens, but this is probably the last time you'll hear or see me on YouTube or Twitch or anything WoW related. So I want to thank the entire Classic WoW community for being amazing, despite Blizzard's partial ineptitude in bringing us what they said they would. I feel like it's been a struggle. I feel like the game's changed a lot. I feel like that, and we've changed too as people, but all in all, like all the positive interactions I've had, whether it was content creation, it was running the shaman community with Egregious, and the guild management, it's all been mostly positive, like overwhelmingly positive. And it's going to be a significant part of my life, and I'll never forget it. And it's just been a great journey, but the journey's it's over. It's come to an end. So yeah, that's the announcement.
End of a era, man. Whew. Does it feel a little weird? Or does it feel more freeing?
So has anybody ever, of course people have felt this way. I mean, when someone passes away, like there's that kind of weird void that's in your body. It's like but in this case, it's obviously not as bad, right, as someone passing away, but there's still a void, right? So yeah, it does feel weird because what I mean by the void is like your brain is used to certain patterns and certain things, right? It's like, okay, this day I have to do that, this day I have to do that. When you first think about, oh, I don't have to raid this week, or I don't have to do, like, it's not all happy, right? It's like this weird kind of, you missing something, right? And it's kind of like, wow, it's kind of this guttural reaction that kind of happens in your gut. So I am very happy with my decision. I think I made the right one, and I'm looking forward to what I can do with the more time that I have. I don't leave work early. I was leaving work early 2-3 times a week. It was just a lot, right? So I'm looking forward to the things I can replace it with, but at the same time, I am sad that it's gone, mostly because of the people, not really the game. The game's great, but the people were everything. So I wouldn't have played WoW if it wasn't for my guild, 100%. I'm not the kind of person that can play casually. I can't just like level or quests. Like, I can't do that. So yeah. But I want to thank I thank the Classic WoW community, but I also want a huge shout out to Invictus, Eden, Victor, Death, all the names we've had over the years, and the leadership core and the Raiders. Like, again, you are the reason why I played. So, and my brother as well. Like, he's the reason why I played. So, there's certain feelings that come up, and of course but the beautiful thing is now I can, if I want to hang out with Def, I can do something less structured and pay attention to him, and like we can go one-on-one and talk instead of me talking to a whole guild. Like Defcamp and I played together, yes, but we had very little brother to brother interaction because it was so, this whole structure that was around it, right? So
right,
yeah.
Well, we are going to miss you.
I don't want to be a
guys.
conspiracy theorist, but Blizzard announces they're going to make Naxx hard again, and Melderon got scared. I think that's the
So I didn't even know they did that. Really? So
yeah,
he doesn't even know they did that, guys. Yeah,
that's really good news.
Be quiet. Never mind.
Oh, that's really good news. I actually made a video about that. Actually, if you guys remember my last video, the last thing I said was, Naxx is too easy. You have to make it harder. It was the last thing I said in that last video I made. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm really glad I did that. Yeah.
Well, we will definitely be talking about that here soon. So let's go ahead and jump on in.
Time for the news.
All right. So first up in the news, Blizzard announces Joyous Journeys. I don't know why they had to name it, but Joyous Journeys in TBC Classic and the Wrath pre-patch. It is a 50% EXP buff that is supposed to show up. I think they said 2 to 3 weeks prior to the pre-patch, and then run all through the pre-patch until Wrath launches. So I don't know if there's any other pertinent information. It looks like just a straight up from all sources, you're killing mobs or quest EXP, a 50% bump. And then also it'll be even like, and then when you go into the pre-patch at TBC, it also makes 60 to 70 shorter too. So it's going to be a pretty big buff. What do you guys think of this?
Are they releasing Death Knights in pre-patch? Do we know yet?
Yes.
Yeah, they are.
And so they'll get this buff too?
Yes,
Yeah, they should be
probably,
getting
yeah.
that buff to level quicker. I think it's a really good thing because as we're about to find out too, they're nerfing one of the most popular ways to level, which is, I think that there's something inherently unethical about nerfing the most popular way to level and then selling a boost without an alternative being offered.
That's a good point.
So as much as I think it's kind of like not a classic WoW thing to include this sort of thing, it's I got it for Season of Mastery. I think this is normally, I would think this is pretty weird and dumb, but since they're selling boosts anyway, I guess I don't really care. It's kind of like they may as well give an alternative to just buying a boost on multiple accounts.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you, the Season of Mastery where the leveling was like 100% speed or whatever it was, that was glorious.
It was
right?
pretty fun.
Like I did not feel like I did not quest. I felt like I quested a lot. And it was just a great pace.
Yeah,
So
I think it's.
sorry.
Go ahead, Melderon. No, yeah.
I was just wondering if this affects the fresh servers.
No.
Oh,
It
no,
does.
no.
Wait, it does?
It does. Yeah, they even say it right in
Oh,
the
yeah, you're right.
right in the blue
They
post.
do.
That was what I was going to bring up if nobody else did. There is some controversy over that because I can't speak, but I know there's definitely people that like it and don't like it, but I can't speak to like what the majority is. I haven't checked out enough YouTubers polls and all that.
Right, because the fresh servers are going to be coming out when the pre-patch comes out, right?
So
Yeah,
they'll get
so-
like 3 weeks to a month of it, and they talk about, they phrase it as a good thing for people to catch up and be able to interact with those pre-patch only events where you can get the axe that you could play as a guitar and all that.
So the one thing I would say, I would give advice to Blizzard that if they do, like I said, they are doing it for the new servers, that they should probably go ahead and, I think it's better for them to wait to let other people into those servers. And, so a lot of people are probably going to be making those characters. And, we know now that you have to make a level 55 first to even make a DK on those fresh servers. So, if they have that now, plus they're able to get, more people up to level 70. The thing I was worried about is, knowing that there would be a lock on transfers and stuff, would they allow more people, would like more, boosters and gold sellers be flocking to that server? So, there are definitely like positives and negatives to it, but I don't know. I don't know. I think one of the big things about Fresh is, to have that whole new experience to yourself and kind of have it as something that's special. So I think there's definitely positives and negatives to it. But now that the Midsummer Festival is out now, if anyone's like trying to level right now, you have the Midsummer buff, XP buff, and then you'll have this buff coming up as well. So if you were planning on leveling a character now on a server that's already out there, I would definitely say, start now. And then when that buff comes out, you'll have a lot of XP boosting.
Yeah, I worry about the fresh servers. I talked about this last week. I just worry with them opening them up in pre-patch rather than opening them up just day one of Wrath. I feel like you're going to get a lot of people that are going to want that first month fresh feel and then just pop out and go back to their regular servers. Yeah. Whereas if it launched day one, it would only be the people that really want to play it. But, yeah.
With the XP boost, I feel like that'll be more of an issue, right? But I also do agree that a lot of people coming back for Wrath that want the fresh Wrath experience aren't necessarily looking for the classic leveling experience all the time, right?
It could be.
And so speeding that portion up, I don't think is necessarily a negative to most of the people that want that fresh Wrath experience. But
yeah, the fresh isn't targeted at people who want to enjoy leveling again. It's targeted at people who want to play Wrath without people bringing in their inherited gear and gold. I think that's kind of the distinction and why they don't care that they're adding a 50% boost, because I mean, there's just going to be other game modes presumably too that that you can play. You know, if there's a TBC Season of Mastery or another Season of Mastery for vanilla, if you really want that like fresh 1 to 60, you can do it somewhere else too. But I think this is just targeting especially players coming back. I'm sure they're hoping that there's going to be a big player boost from Wrath veterans, because that was when things were really popping off for WoW. But I know like my friends would be like, well, everyone's rich and geared right now. I'm going to come in and have nothing. It's just not going to be as fun.
That's a little bit of the disconnect though, right? I think in a lot of people's head, fresh is like being able to interact with the world, doing the low level professions and stuff like that, at least in the current classic community. But it does feel like Blizzard's targeting it towards like private server players and stuff like that who want to play Wrath on a not like economy that shot or people in full Sunwell gear. It's like two different target audiences, I guess.
Yeah, well, and I mean, if you look at it, almost, you know, like I didn't know much about private servers prior to doing this podcast and everything, but I've learned a lot. And one thing I have learned is I'm pretty sure almost all of the Wrath private servers have been sped up XP gains. Like, if not all of them. Like,
yeah, I exclusively played vanilla private servers. Def, you played TBC. Was TB sped up?
Yeah, there were some ones that were sped up a little bit. I think there were. So I'm trying to remember when I played on Warmane, if Warmane was sped up. I think it was a little bit. So I remember there were like some private servers that, you know, were like, hey, we're 1x, and they were popular because I think Light's Hope was 1x, right?
That's classic. That was classic.
That was classic. Yeah, but still, there were a lot of different ones. I know that a lot of the later XP, you know, private servers were sped up because people wanted to get to that level cap, you know, sooner, because obviously, you know, the game for a lot of people with a new XP, with the new expansion started there. But a lot of the classic private servers that we played on, like Light's Hope and whatnot, were 1 XP. So
yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
I'm just saying, like, when I looked into Wrath private servers, this is what I saw in Wrath private servers was the sped up.
I think it's just
XP.
a distinction. That's just a distinction of the XP, I think, or the experience of vanilla versus like TBC and Wrath. Like I played TBC to get the rating experience that I missed out on, but I played vanilla to get the whole experience of an MMO again. But like Wrath, it's like, oh, I can't wait to level through Wrath. Like that's not
the leveling. So the leveling experience in Wrath was already so much faster. You know, and like once heirlooms came out, like leveling was not a big part of Wrath. The end game was, and you know.
That's what I was going to say. I don't know, Bob. I don't think you're doing this, but you could. Another possibility, you could be conflating, like, so multiplying the XP versus how nerfed it became in Wrath 2. So it was already sped up already, like faster than TBC. And then I think what you're saying is some servers, on top of that, even multiplied it. I don't know.
I think almost all of them did.
There were like 5x or more, I think, a lot of the Wrath servers.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of normal for them. Plus, if they're trying to target possible Wrath babies that still play retail, I mean, like, this probably, it looks really good to them too. And just for me, I was going to buy a boost on a priest, but with this, I'm like, hey, Mel, so what new character you want to work up with my priest? You know, like, it just incentivized me to be like, I can work up another character.
Yeah, I think in some ways it was a response to some of the backlash of the boosting. It's like, hey, here's a way where you can kind of level up a character and not have to give us money. Obviously, the booster is going to be faster no matter what, because you can still get the 50% at a level 70 boost. Or actually, is the boost all the way through?
No, just to 70.
It stops at 70, right? Okay.
Yep.
So either way, you know what I mean? You're going to have someone 1 to 70 a lot quicker, or someone you can just buy one. But I think it is a little bit of a direct response to some of the backlash from the boost, from, you know, the negative backlash that Blizzard has been getting from the boosting.
It makes the money boost feel like less extortion.
Yeah.
That's good news for people who want to change their environment, I think, right? So again, you know me, I'm usually totally against all this shit, but coming from a position where I don't care, like it doesn't affect me right now. I think it's great, especially if someone, doesn't have a home, right? They can be like, hey, oh, wow, I can get up really fast. I can boost or I can boost or I can level really quickly and have a totally different experience in Wrath. And I think that's really good.
And, people like myself who are planning on swapping mains, right? So like I, had started leveling a paladin, but I didn't, get him all the way up there. Now you have the Midsummer Festival, which is a big XP boost, and now you have this coming up soon. So you have a lot of people who want to play something different in Wrath. The classes change immensely in Wrath, so there's a lot more, flexibility with that as well.
I know.
What should I level, guys? Yeah. Come on, tell me. What should I level with my boost here?
Shadow Priest.
I already have a priest.
I already have a priest. That's right. Warlock. There you go. Go Affley Warlock. Affley Warlock's a lot of fun.
Oh, Warlock. You might actually really like Warlock, Mel.
No.
But no. Well, so I think Yip made a really good point at the start of this. Yip, why don't you tell us why they kind of needed to put this on? What's changing in dungeons?
Yeah, they're making it so boosting isn't good anymore. They've just now realized that people who boost might be selling that gold, and that's crazy. So they're putting a stop to it. They're saying no way, Jose, and they're getting rid of, which is like, I mean, they sell boosts, so it's kind of, I don't know. As a player, I don't see like a real big integrity problem when like they are comfortable integrating. I mean, obviously the token's not coming out, but I mean, you can buy boosts and stuff, so it's pretty much paying to make the game easier anyway. So I don't know, I hate this. Giving money to a friend of yours to boost you through a dungeon is cool, and I think it should still exist. So
listen, that's not who we were giving our money to. Let's be real. We were all giving it to somebody who didn't speak the same language as us. We were sitting at the end of the beginning of the dungeon, just hanging out.
But you take out some flavor.
So yeah, but are you surprised that Blizzard's cracking down on something like that? Because let's think about this, right? Why does the U.S. government crack down on organized crime? It's because organized crime is getting in on the U.S. government's cut. 100%. That's what it all is about.
It's because they're not paying taxes.
Exactly. Gold. Bobby Kotick or the guy that sells gold. Who's worse? I mean, come on.
Blizzard's just pissed off that organized crime, aka dungeon boosters, are cutting down on their profits. That's all it is. Yeah.
I mean, they're giving us an alternative way to give them our money instead of the gold sellers their money, right? And you can't blame them. I mean, you can blame him for how long.
He needs another yacht, guys. Come on, we got it. It's not fair. He needs another yacht.
Well, let's tell everybody like what they're doing, because they're doing basically the same thing they did in Season of Mastery, where they are making it so mobs eventually become unstunnable and unsnarable and start moving, 50% faster or 100% faster? They start like really trucking it, right? Which basically makes it a lot harder for the mages. But the next piece, I don't know if they did this in Season of Mastery or not, but they are making it so you drastically lose EXP when someone of a much higher level is in the dungeon, which is what I said from the start.
I don't like. This is the part I don't like. I'm okay with them hurting mages doing insano boosts. What I don't like is that, when in vanilla, I would take a ton of people into Scarlet Monastery, my warrior, and just kill stuff and level people.
Yep,
like,
it was slower, but it was
slower.
Fast.
But if you have 4 guildies in there, it's like faster as a whole, and they can do it during work or whatever. So it was nice. So I feel like changing that is kind of a bummer. And I don't know. I don't know if I like their reasoning enough to do this. I feel like they need to put more in here about like game integrity or something for leveling, because they say that it's about illicit activities for real money trading, but that means GDKPs would be in their target as well too, but they're not. So I don't understand.
They don't offer an alternative to GDKP.
Well, that's because that's what all the devs do is GDKPs.
Yeah, like it doesn't. The philosophy I don't think is adding up 100% here.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's okay because I do think that like the paid bot. I mean, a lot. Their boosts run by bots. There's boosts run by the real money traders a lot. So I don't have a problem with them trying to reduce those. But yeah, I mean, they're adding the 50% boost so that.
Yeah,
it all kind of.
The thing that I'm excited about is just not seeing it spammed in every chat. You know what I mean?
They'll figure something out, I'm sure.
You know what might happen? This developed in one of the retail expansions. They did the same thing where like a high level will cut the low levels XP. And what people ended up doing is getting appropriate level characters, and they would like twink them out beyond belief. So you're a lower level character twinking PvE instances to carry people. So that might be that though. It's neat.
And they would turn off experience because that's something you could do in Wrath.
Yeah.
See, that would be actually kind of more interesting, honestly.
I think so too. I kind of really have been wanting them to do something like this for a while because like I understand, it is cool to like, have a higher level character and no matter what class it is, be able to help out friends. But I think it was a good whenever they did this in retail, whenever they made it, you had a bigger drastic, they lost a lot of XP the higher the level. This is something that I, like, why wouldn't they just do this a long time ago? But I think the idea of someone coming in like boosted out the ass with like, that's only like maybe like a 10 level difference, right? Or something like that. And can do pretty much the same thing that a level 60 or 70 mage could do. I think that's so much cooler than someone just getting to level cap, putting very little work in there, maybe even just buying a boost and then going in there and helping them level their friends or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting Moradon boosts from dudes in greens, like mostly greens.
Yeah. Well, with the snare changes, though, no one's going to be able to do this stuff. Maybe Paladin or something, but mages won't be able to do anything at their same level anymore.
That's what a lot of people are complaining about. Is Paladins are still going to be able to do the raw gold farms because they just take all of the hits. It doesn't. Like if they wanted to stop Paladins from doing it too, mobs after a certain amount of time would start hitting harder too.
Yeah,
well, I think it's fine. I think Paladins and Wrath do need a little bit of a boost. They don't.
They're so horrible. They're just not a good class.
Wrath, man.
I like your idea, Bob.
Take them anywhere.
I like your idea, Bob. I think, but the only problem is like. The only problem is with that, I know so many people that are legitimate players that actually that was their only way of getting gold was like running dungeons on their paladin,
I make a lot of gold doing like strat and stuff on my hunter. Like I've never bought gold. I can say that honestly. I've never bought gold. Although hopefully Melderon gives me his gold when he but
it's a gift. It's a gift. It's not, you're not buying.
It's a gift, exactly. But like I used to do runs on my hunter. I do strat. Skolo for Dark Runes. I would give them to my priest, and then whatever I didn't have, I would sell in the auction house. And didn't make a lot of gold doing that, but I made enough to pay for my my gems and my enchants.
Dude, I've been forced to do. I've been forced to do dailies a bunch because I've been getting mounts. I've been trying to get that revved up for Wrath. It's when you actually look into it, like the dailies are giving you, a few hundred gold a day, right? But that's not all you're getting. I'm getting so many greens, so much cloth that I then turn into greens that I disenchant everything. I'm getting rare drops. I'm getting all kinds of stuff that I end up making double what I did in quest rewards in just the things that drop. And like you kill everything so fast now. Like, but that's off topic. But it's just like if you really look into it, you make a ton of gold doing dailies.
Yeah, the Isle, just real quick, like the Isle of Qualdanad dailies, I remember doing them back in the day too. Like you make so much gold because there's, especially the ones in the island, not the ones that you have to go around Outland, they're annoying, but the ones in the island, you can do them on all your alts. You can
in like a half an hour. Yeah.
I got like 4 epics already. I got like 2 epic patterns. I got epic healing pants, all this stuff. And then all the disenchant mats that I get too, like all the, it's a lot of gold. I mean, you make somewhere between 500 and 600 gold, like, with like maybe more than that with 2 characters, probably like 7. Yeah, between like 600 and 700 gold between 2 characters. It's pretty good.
I think
like an hour of playtime. Oh, they're definitely worth it. The ones on the island, at least.
Yeah, the ones on the island are great. I've been forced to do the ones that have been a little bit more annoying to get the Nether Drake and all that. But so I think overall it's a good thing. I am kind of with Yip that it's kind of a bummer that I can't boost somebody through something, but you can still go in there. Like Zol for Rock, you can run them through, and just all of those quests give a ton, so you can still help your lower buddies with different things. But
yeah, I just don't know if it's, I know that most of it is you're trying to combat gold inflation, but I just feel like, it's hard for me to say this because I don't think the leveling process should ever be adulterated, but if people don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. I feel like it's why are we fighting this, right?
And gold inflation is inevitable on any server. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
If they're not farming it that way, they'll farm it another way, right?
And it's a little too late, right?
Yeah. I think the issue is people nowadays, they just want to get to end game, right? And hey, whatever that is, whether it's retail mentality, I personally love the leveling process. I love that it takes time and you earn your keep and all that stuff. But obviously, no one else feels that way, or very little people feel that way.
I did though in vanilla. I felt the same as you, but
so
after I worked up a bunch of characters, now I'm okay, I want to just do this stuff in this expansion, type of deal.
Yeah, no, for sure. I get that mentality too. I don't want to level another. I've already done the classic, the real 1x vanilla WoW leveling experience. That was the hardest core leveling experience. Why do I have to do it again? And I get it. I know how to play my character, or I know how to play this class already. So I don't know if it's. I feel like Blizzard's actually going with a minority here. Usually they go with the majority, right? I think the majority of players don't want to spend time leveling.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people enjoy getting boosted. I think there are going to be a lot of people a little upset with the change, to be honest. I think there's more that are upset than not.
Yeah, Yip hit the nail on the head. It's just because they're taking money away from Blizz.
Yeah.
That's why they're doing it, I think.
And people always want to take the path of least resistance, right? So the easiest part is always going to be the most common thing, even though a lot of people will say they don't like it. I mean, how many people do we know bought a boost even though they didn't agree with it, right? Because it was just easier to do.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can't blame them for it.
Yeah, I didn't want it, but I bought it.
I'm going to park my character in Mordon and I'm going to have somebody boost me, right? If it's not allowed, I'll go through the steps and I'll do it myself.
Mel loved boosting so much because she just loved going and looting everything. And she was and then she's making her cloth stuff while we're getting boosted. She's just having a blast and giggling.
I gotta make it fun.
But now
sounds like another Mel I know.
But now they keep all the boosters keep everything. You don't get to get anything. It's okay, guys.
Defcamp, who has all the gold?
Yeah, dude, okay. All right. I just got to say, if you guys watch some of our earlier videos and you see why it took us so long to level together, which I got to say, one of my favorite times together was when me and Melderon would play together and do our hardcore stuff and whatever. But every 10 seconds, turn around, there he is, mining herbs, picking friggin'
mining herbs,
mining herbs, herbing the mobs,
skinning.
The two Mels are exactly the same because I'm sitting there going, "Let's go," and she's like, "But I got this herb over here."
Yeah, it's like Defcamp's we got to move. I'm like, "There's free gold on the ground. There's free gold." That's
literally what he says. And then meanwhile, I get us killed because I run into pack of elites. You know what I mean? Yeah.
My favorite is Bob. Finally, when we're leveling, and he's like, "Do you even use that herb for anything anymore?" And I'm like, "No."
I put it in my bag for when I need it later.
This was even in hardcore. I'm like, "We can't sell it."
Oh, I know.
Do you really need it?
It's sorry. There's a little dot on my screen, and I have to go to it. There's no it's just a compulsion. I can't leave it there. It really eats at me. Okay?
All right. Harskare. We haven't heard what you think about the no boosting because I know at least I know all of us Vargies have definitely taken a Mordon or some type of boost at some point. Do you feel this is a good thing or a bad thing?
In principle, I like it. I mean, I just recently boosted a Paladin, and there's nothing almost nothing meets the feeling of like running a raid on one character while my paladin's getting boosted in the background. Like the efficiency levels that you're meeting it's insane. But in principle, yeah, I like the fact that they're getting rid of it, but they need to keep on top of it, because I could see like something in Wrath where one little evade spot resets the timer on the like snare or something like that. And like, Blizzard's so slow to fix this type of stuff that it's silly. Like they need to really stay on top of it if it's something they want to do.
Hardscare's right. It's going to get min-maxed somehow. It's going to get figured out. It always does.
That's something that I think we underestimate the community on sometimes, is they will figure out a way around anything. It's
like a challenge to them, right? It's like, oh, you're not going to let us do that? Here, let me try to figure out how I can exploit your
challenge accepted.
People figured out how to literally fly.
Oh yeah, and
like ZG
and stuff. Yeah, it's the thing. Every time Blizzard tries to fix one problem, they create two more, and that's just the fact of.
Well, you guys remember when boosting was dead when they put target caps in TVC?
Target caps.
Say that again.
With like AoE cap or whatever.
Yeah. Boosting's dead, bro.
Yeah, it's dead, bro.
Yeah.
Immediately enslave.
How many rogues are in slave pens right now? 500. Like, okay, yeah. Farming stuff.
That too. Can they take pickpocket out of the game? Does it serve anything other than like bots?
Well, I mean, I have it macroed into every stealth opener that I have. It's just extra gold for me.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I think people would riot if they took it out of the game.
I think it's such a cool little.
Maybe disable it in instances. I don't know. They could. It's like such an easy fix.
Disabling it in instances would be completely fine. I think.
Listen, how many times were you guys running a low level dungeon, like leveling up, and some stupid rogue tried to pickpocket and pulled like all the mobs, and they vanished, and everybody else died? Like, come on.
Yeah, just like when I tried to mind sue something and it resisted, and I pulled it. Yeah.
Oh,
I think that was Gruul, wasn't it?
No, that was Cedar who did that, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or it was, I don't know. Maybe it was me. Yeah. Tried to mind soothe Gruul and it just pulled. Yeah.
He's like, oh, comes they're running for Defcamp. Everyone is locked out.
Oh, man. All right. Well, moving on to the next thing. This is interesting. But so for anybody who doesn't know, on PvE servers, you could have both Horde and Alliance characters on the same account. On PvP servers, you could not. You had to have either Horde or either Alliance. Now they've lifted that. You can now have both side characters on a PvP server. You could also transfer from a PvE server to a PvP server. So those two things have changed now. I don't know how I feel about this. It's kind of nice to be able to log on to a Horde character. Like, I've just always been on PvP servers and never experienced like what problems this could bring up. Maybe.
So, do you think they're doing this because everyone hates World PvP now?
Well, maybe. I think they're doing it, Melderon, because they're going to be merging servers, and you might end up having two people on the same server anyway if they end up merging servers the way they are.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Part of it.
That's a good point.
Right, because like say they merge a server that I have a Alliance Paladin on, and then they merge with Farlina. Now I have like, how are they going to fix that? Right, I think that they have to do this.
I think that's probably why they're doing it, Def. That's a good point.
Well, I think this was initially done in Wrath. I think the first time around.
Was it?
Was it?
So, yeah.
I thought Kata.
It might have been Kata, but by the time Wrath rolls around, the consequences of having both factions, like I don't think there's any world bosses in Wrath. Like it's a lot. It's just kind of.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
So I have a question for you guys that I ask my chat a lot. And it has to do with this, right? Because one thing that I think that happened over time is like the servers have become so, of a mess, right? And everything has become such a kind of cluster to where it is now that oftentimes I look at retail's version of how they just have like everything layered and sharded together as almost being better than what we currently have. And maybe they're trying to do something better with Wrath, but I almost feel like being able to just invite someone on another server to a group and do a dungeon with them is better than being on a server that's just pure Horde, or better than being on a server that's just pure Alliance. So, like,
I think that where we're at right now, I agree that would be better, right? I think it's unfortunate that they've allowed it to get to where it's at right now, but based on the current status quo of servers, except for like 2, I think there's 2 servers that are minimally balanced, and the rest of them are mega servers, and nobody's going to go from Benediction to Farolina, right? Mm-hmm. Like nobody's going to be that guild that's like, yeah, let's go to the all horde server. That sounds like a magnificent idea. Like,
I mean, if I could, it's definitely not optimal for me. I really like being able to have actual enemies on the other side and see them, you know, in our farm spots we do normally. And like, if there were horde, you know, on Benediction, I would have definitely made a few enemies and maybe a few allies while I got the 2 weeks it took me to get my Nether Drake, you know, like, but like, it just kind of cheapens it when it's someone you're probably never going to see again. But I guess I would rather have, you know, some world PvP than none, I guess, you know, like, so it'd probably be the only way it would work without them actually doing a lot of work to keep the servers like equal, and they're not going to do that work anyhow. So yeah, I don't know. I've kind of been beat down.
Servers
like,
not even matter, right?
Yeah, whatever. I'm like, I've been beat down so hard now. Like, it's just like, okay.
I mean, it did come at the end of Wrath, so it's not really that surprising that this would happen now anyway. We are following, like, it's pretty funny to follow the same issues that we all ran into that turned the game into retail. And it's like a lot of the retail decisions are smart to fix the problems that they have. Like war mode is a good way to fix the fact that there are no like there's just no actual world PvP and stuff. So I mean, it just is what it is. They're just trying to get people to play and be able to do content. Plus, it'll be fun on our mega server. We can all make a horde guild and try to win Wintergrasp. And
oh my god,
Gunt has already started that. It's Horde Varg or something.
Yeah.
Horde Varg.
What if our servers become one and we can attack each other on how crazy would that be? Yeah,
that would be cool. That's another thing about cross server play. Now this is, you know, it's probably not for like something that everybody would do, but like doing this podcast, I've met so many people. Now, luckily, a lot of the alliance that I have met are on Benediction. I'm getting to play with them. Like I got to do our arena the other day with Zyrene, you know, but it would be cool to play with everybody that I meet on the podcast, you know, whether it be to fight each other or team up, you know?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I think one of the most fun things that I remember about private servers, and even when the beta came out, is like being able to play with people from anywhere, being able to, like, you know, I was playing with Costin when he was back in the beta and playing with people from Europe and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
that
beta was fun. Yeah.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Yeah, I got to play with Josh Corbett and Mad Season and freaking Willie. And like, that was such a good time.
Yeah, they were great.
Well, all right. Well, that change is happening. So on to the next piece of news. We had been told, so we had been told that we were going to see a pre-nerf and a post-nerf version of Sunwell. But Brian Birmingham, lead of WoW Classic, tweeted out that they have no current plans for post-nerf Sunwell. So it might not be coming until, like, he even said it might not come at all. He even said the only thing planned at the moment is the pre-patch nerf. Like, he kind of said that in a weird way.
Sorry.
Yeah, can we talk about his autocorrect?
Yeah, they're only going to nerf Sunwell at pre-patch. I believe that is the case. I think that just means pre-patch is going to happen
and he kind
relatively soon.
Well, and he kind of said, like, if you read into it, he might be saying they're not nerfing it at all. Just the pre-patch is going to nerf it because of different talents. So we might not even see the lower boss health and all that stuff.
No, you absolutely would see that because that's in pre-patch.
Oh, okay.
Any nerf will come with pre-patch because that's on the patch.
That when they? Okay.
Like anything that happens before 2.4, or sorry, wait, what is the patch for?
You're right. I get exactly what you're saying now.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to be playing on 3.0. We're going to be playing on the future patch. Anything that happens in the world gets retroactively applied. Yep. That's happened with like every patch we've seen, is that there's all these weird things in the game because they just take a patch and then they put it in the game. That's why we had like the meta gems that shouldn't have been in the game because they launched a 2.4 patch on a Karazhan that way, like with only Karazhan should be out. So yeah.
Remember when the TVC pre-patch came out, we only had like 2 weeks of that, right? It was like very short.
Yeah,
would you guys feel like better about having like maybe like 2 months of pre-patch instead of like 2 weeks? I think that would be pretty cool.
I think I'm hoping it'll be like 6 weeks because I think that's a good a good amount of time. But
I don't know, 2 months might be too long, but at the same time, I don't know, maybe not. I mean, two weeks was definitely too short, but they have said, I think we're looking at a month-long pre-patch, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I think with all the things they're inputting too, right? Yeah. They're doing the XP boost, they're doing the fresh Wrath servers. Like, I think that they have to give more time to make it so that people want to go to the next, like want to join in pre-patch and have enough time to get to where they want to be to enjoy Wrath.
It's going to be super cool to see DKs just destroy all the content. The BC content. It's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But they definitely need enough time for people to level up and stuff. And I mean, I guess we'll have 50% faster XP, but I also want a break. So a long pre-patch is nice. I don't want to feel like as soon as pre-patch hits, I have to be back immediately. You know, it'd be nice if there's a 4 or 5 week pre-patch. You can take a week off, 2 weeks off, then come in, level your character, get some gear.
Right.
Or
I mean, some of us have been playing nonstop.
Just have time, because I know a lot of us are playing to switch mains, and lots of the gear doesn't super matter, but there are pieces in Sunwell that will matter to certain classes and stuff. Like, be nice to be able to get some of that stuff for your new character during the pre-patch too.
If you're in communal gear, you're going to at least want time to get out of communal gear. Or whatever they give you when you boost. And if you're playing like a tank like me, I'm going to want a full set of at least Karazhan plus gear. I'm not going to want to roll in with whatever greens you have or whatever you can get from quests. So, I mean, they do need a hardy amount of time. And pre-patch will probably be fun. We want to take advantage of it in vanilla as well, too, but it was so short that it was like, why are we going to go back to Naxxramas? We've been raiding it nonstop. We're going to do like a meme run of Nax. It just didn't make sense.
I was dying, too, to see FJ's damage at level 60 with the new talents. Like, because like locks had been so bad and the talents changed so much. I was dying to just see just what classes were on top in Nax in pre-patch, and I just never got to really see that. But
yeah. And you think a lot changed back then, like so much more is changing now from BC to Wrath. Like, so, like, I mean, just the way like healing is done on so many classes, absorb and like, the tanking styles, like, tanks are so much stronger. And
dude, Defcamp,
it's gonna be amazing.
We did a show with Winky and Hamster Wheel, episode 99, and I went through all of the patch notes of Wrath, just looking for stuff that changed that I thought was interesting, but not a lot of people were talking about it. I was going through the class changes each patch. I mean, there was like 15 to 25 changes to each class, each patch. Like, it was out of this world. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming.
And even the little things that don't sound that big, like Shadow Priest dots being able to crit, like are huge. You know what I mean? Like just massive things that are happening. Like the smart heal, like Prayer of Healing being able to use outside of groups, and Circle of Healing become more of a smart heal, can go across groups. Like just the little things that don't sound that big are actually like massive too. So,
yeah. So. All right, well, I kind of put this out of order. I think before we talk about 5, we need to just say number 7. So the Wrath of the Lich King beta has gone live. It seems like a pretty small group so far, but I guess a bunch more invites went out. So I guess there's quite a few more people on it, but yeah. Did any of you get in yet? I haven't actually checked today if I got in.
No. So I haven't checked today either. So from what I understand, there was a group of, so there was like a, wave that went in, and then there were a certain application, I think, process that went on for some people, and a lot of people, including myself, missed that application process. So I wasn't able to do it until later, and I think a lot of people did as well. So they're saying that they're going to be rolling out a bunch new invites soon, and hopefully within the next week or so there'll be more invites. But from what I heard, it's still very empty on the beta. It's still not a lot of people there.
Yeah,
so,
I remember Stay Safe was like we're gonna try to 2-man this dungeon because it's the only other person online.
Yeah, seriously, it is very. So I think right now, I think there's still a lot of bugs on the beta from what I've heard. There's still a lot that they need to work on. So I think that they have a very small sample size there to just try to, see what's going on. Because when they first start a beta, when you have too many people there, right, they want to make sure they get the really, the big bugs first, right? So they need a small sample size to have there. Obviously, they want to do some promotion as well, which is weird that they didn't, I don't think Asmongold or Esfan were invited, but
really?
I'm sure. I don't know. I don't know if I haven't seen Asmongold play the beta, so maybe they were. Maybe
I think I saw Asmund play it. He was playing it on his other account, Zach Rar.
Oh, okay. So there you go. Yeah. So I think they obviously want to make sure that a lot of people are being able to see it too, right? So they want to put it out to people as well. But I think right now, like any beta, there's a lot of bugs and stuff they want to get through, and then I'm sure the invites will start coming out more and more over time.
What's funny is I've watched a few people. They're doing a Guide MMO is doing a real good job. At least in his videos, he's showing that he's reporting a lot of bugs, and stuff like that. But it's I had a friend who was watching. It's a big retail guy. I forget his name, but he was just raging while he was watching him because the guy wasn't reporting anything. And it's why is this guy? He doesn't even play Classic. Why is he in here? He was. Yeah. I was like, I don't know, man. I'm not going to get mad about it though. But,
yeah, it's. I mean, we were lucky we got invited pretty early on in the Classic and the BC ones, but
yep.
I guess you're not going to get all three, but I'm really excited to get in there eventually. But the thing is, right, the most the most concerning thing to me is getting in there and looking for bugs and stuff. I think that's fun too. I think we found a lot of stuff in the original Classic beta and the TBC beta.
Defcamp found a lot of floating plants.
Yes, I found a lot of floating plants. I found a lot of mobs inside trees.
Dude, I just like it. Yeah. I remember going in and chat just keeps asking you to try different things. You're like, oh, I didn't even think about trying to test that. Yeah. And you just go into testing a bunch of stuff, and that part is cool. That part is fun because there's so much that changes, right?
I honestly, I think I know why I didn't get invited in the beginning because Melderon, do you remember my paragraphs of bug reports that I would send?
Bro, so I'd be sitting there doing all this Shaman related fucking bug reporting. I treated it like a job, right? And Defcamp, which is fine, he's playing it too differently. He's playing it on stream, but he'll find a Arthas tears floating in the air, and he'd be like, "Hey guys, it's Defcamp again. I just wanted to say that I was walking down the road and I saw this Arthas tears floating above the ground. Thank you so much for all your hard work. Bye." And I'm just bro, first of all, that's not really. I mean, yeah, it's important, but it's not that important. Just don't report that. Just say plant in air. You know what I mean? It's just
and then I would just report the same thing so many times because when Shadow Word Death wasn't working correctly or Circle of Healing wasn't working correctly, I'd be like, it's still not working. I still can't see the healing things. I still can't see the floating combat text. I would report it like every day.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this guy.
You're like the guy
if
just
you're listening, I promise
tapping someone on his shoulder. You're just tapping him on the shoulder.
They just blacklisted Defcamp after the fourth report. They're like, never invite to beta again.
It reminds me of Office Space, but last time I did not receive a piece of cake, and but I would like a piece of cake this time. That's great. That's great.
It was fun though. It was good fun. Yeah.
All right. Well, so hopefully some of us get in pretty soon. But let's talk about some of the stuff that's been seen so far. So, the new Group Finder UI is out for Wrath, and I've been watching a lot of the people. They haven't really been able to test it really good so far because there's just not enough people on. But it really, at least the graphics look a lot like random Dungeon Finder.
I mean, it's literally the Group Finder from retail, I think.
Yeah, but okay, so yes, I keep forgetting that retail has a Group Finder on top of the Dungeon Finder,
because they groups for everything, like world bosses, quests. You can find people for anything with the Group Finder in retail.
Okay.
Which it looks like you can do for here as well too, which is cool.
Yeah, and I did see a video just today with Scotty J kind of pointing out the different things. You choose your roles. You could put a little note in there of, what you can do. The notes kind of scare me because that could be used for, boosting things and things of that nature, or carries and things of that nature for RMT. But it looks like it functions. I guess to be in it, you're gonna have to to even type in the looking for group channel. You're gonna have to be in this, be actually queued in this Group Finder. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on this Group Finder thing?
So it sounds to me like it's very, very like Yip said, similar to what they had on retail, right?
Yeah. So it's exactly the same. You list your group for anything, and then people apply, and you accept them into your group if you want them.
Yeah, I remember that.
There won't be an eye level there to tell you if you want them or not, but I mean, maybe there will be.
I remember that. Yeah, they worked pretty well. I mean,
yeah. No, I mean, they're good. They're used every day, but I mean, this will be a little bit different because those are cross server. I'm assuming this is obviously not going to be. So it will function a little bit differently because the Group Finder is the same thing as looking for dungeon practically in retail, but the only thing is that won't happen. Yeah,
I'm totally lost. I don't really read the news anymore. So they got rid of the teleport you to dungeon thing.
Yeah, they're not going to let.
They
have that in retail. They have it.
No. I don't care about retail. I'm talking about.
Yeah, they're not doing it in classic.
Yeah, you were supposed to come on for the episode.
God, dude. And it's not cross server.
It's not across the river.
Fuck yeah, dude. That is awesome.
For all this news.
I checked out 2 months ago.
I know.
It turned out a lot of people were upset about that.
Of course they are. They don't want to walk to the dungeon. They don't want to fly to the dungeon.
Well, remember me? I wanted it. I just didn't want it cross server. Remember, that was always my case. Yeah. But now I kind of just don't get. I don't get it now.
Bob.
I like that position.
Dead servers, let's not get not cross server. That is a horrible.
Well, remember, I changed it to a short time before it would let you, so you'd most likely be on your own server if you're on a big server.
Not your dead server.
Wait, they don't have dead. I thought dead servers are gone. They're still dead servers.
They're getting rid of them.
They will be gone.
Yeah, they're getting rid of them August 9th, completely enforcing anybody still on there to merge into another server. That's a piece of news that's been out for a couple weeks.
Farewell, servers.
Well, I'm glad we have something because it even with looking for group bulletin board, especially on Benediction, it is hard to parse through. Just it's just so many different ways that people say they're looking for something, and have to read the whole thing. Like, it will be kind of nice just to be like, okay, this group's almost ready to go. I can just tank for them real quick, like request invite. Like, it is kind of nice to streamline that. And
dual spec will make it even better because you can be like, if you're a paladin, you can queue for tank or healer and then just press a button.
Yeah.
Instead of having to go back and respecking.
Yeah, and I do like that it's still same server. And I mean, the dead servers, it's a bummer if you're on a dead side of a server, but
yeah, should have joined the mega server. What are you doing? That's the only way to play WoW.
I'm just glad you have to travel to the dungeon, man. I know I'm an old fogey, man. The dungeon exists in a place, and I think you should go to it.
Yeah, I don't even know where the dungeons are in Cataclysm, because like I just always queued.
Yeah.
Remember the one that was like under in Deep Home? That was I
don't remember it, Eddie. Yeah, I just queued.
I definitely want to go under the sea to go to my dungeon.
Yeah, exactly.
Under the sea.
That'll be fun to ride up on my seahorse and ride over to the dungeon.
Although, just on a side note, Yip, we're still like Grobulus is still 50-50. Like, it's unbelievable. It's a freaking a unicorn, because even Firemaw is off balance now. Off balance 60-40. Like, Grobulus is just weird.
I'm very proud of them.
That's cool though, man.
I have a lot of people that I know that play over there, and they were always asking us to go over there, and some part of me wish I really did, because it sounds like they have a lot of fun.
It sounds like they're having a blast right now. I don't know how long it'll last.
Yeah.
Nothing lasts
we
forever.
definitely would have done that if it didn't cost our guild thousands of dollars to switch servers.
Yeah.
It could have been an option, but nope. No free server transfers for us.
Harskare, do you have any thoughts on the group finder? I know you've played a lot of retail.
Harskare's the only retail player. Harskare's main game is retail.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I think they added something that retail doesn't have in this classic one. So in retail, you post your dungeon group and then people queue up for it, and you get to select from the people that queued up. But I think in this new one, you can just flag yourself as like an eligible person, and then they'll come and find you. So you can just like, I want to do Utgard Pinnacle, and then go do your dailies, and some group will pick you up. So it's almost like the Dungeon Finder.
Yeah, you're right.
I think that's like a new feature in the classic.
Okay, that is really nice. I thought that was in retail, but yeah,
no,
because that's the whole beauty of queuing. Is like, you don't have to sit there and just watch the chat and be like, "Ooh, okay, quick. Do you need up full shit? Okay, next." Like, you don't have to keep doing that type of deal. You can actually be doing other tasks while waiting for somebody who's actually going to put the group together, because there's a certain type of person that puts groups together, and I don't think it's the majority. Like,
it's not. It's definitely not.
Yeah, it's usually someone motivated for a certain item. Oh, put this on reserve, or or it's someone that just has that personality.
Yeah. As a quick doomer note, to all you looking for dungeon haters, I know you guys thought looking for dungeon was toxic, but wait till you queue up for this and everyone just looks you up on logs or looks up what you are on an armoury to see if your gear's worth
dude, I do
that's
kind
literally all that's going to happen.
I wish we had armory. I really liked the armory.
I mean, we do have armory apps.
It's like Warcraft logs.
Yeah. I mean, but I loved the like phone app and being able to look at my gear while I was out and be like, oh yeah, and then look at other people's gear and be like, oh yeah, I want to get that. Like, yeah, you can see it on Warcraft logs, but it's not as I don't know, it's not as cool as as it was on the armory. The armory was just kind of neat, but you're right. You're gonna get looked up.
They should streamline this process so you can just right click look at achievements on people, so that way you can make sure they have
or just like search. So like right click search Warcraft logs.
Yeah, right click search Warcraft logs.
You guys think
new add-on?
Big
new
again?
add-on?
Oh yeah.
Oh
it's
yeah,
going
I
to
think
become
so.
really big. And yeah, I think everyone's going to be like you know, looking at everyone's gear score again, probably like even harder than.
Well, I mean, that's
like,
what they
like
do.
How it was in original Wrath.
Like, okay, if you go to a GDKP, it's a little different. But if you go to, like, I've done a bunch of SR runs now, and like you just meet in the middle of chat, and they check your gear before you're going to come. Like, it's like meet at blah 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 for gear check. I forget the name of that floating thing.
Yeah, but now they're going to do that for you for heroics.
Exactly.
That's what this boils down to. For a heroic, they're going to only take you, especially because I imagine, because we can't teleport to dungeons, you're probably going to want to find a group of 5 that are going to run like a few of them or a lot of them, and you're not going to bring an alt, or you're not going to bring a new character or somebody who maybe doesn't have achievements or something. We'll see. I'll remain hopeful, but we have guilds to take care of that problem for us. But I think that this is going to become toxic.
I guess it kind of depends on the pool, like if you don't have enough geared players, like that's when you're going to start looking down, be like, all right, we'll take this healer because it's the best we can get at the moment, or type of deal. But you might be right there. All right.
I mean, I was gonna say, as somebody who makes these groups, I don't mind the gear score stuff at all. I love making sure that's when my group are geared. I don't actually necessarily think it's like the worst thing in the world.
Dude,
gear scores.
Yeah. So last night they needed one more DPS for Magisters heroic, and I was like, well, come, let me go, respect my warrior real quick. And he's like, just come as PvP, like. So I'm just in there as like, PvP arms, which is horrible damage in dungeons. So I guess, but that's also a guild run too. So I don't know.
To be honest, I think gear score takes a little bit of the toxicity out of the actual group, right? Because if you invite somebody in and then you find out they're really well geared and they're not pulling their weight, and then you try to kick them and then you have to get somebody else, right? I feel like that's more toxic than just not inviting somebody who doesn't have gear.
Yeah, I think, but I think for what Yip's saying, I think for like just for heroic, I think that like people don't have to be that geared for a heroic. That's right. Yeah.
All I know is that Link achievement is not something people fondly remember, having to only be able to get into things that you've done before and stuff.
Yeah, it totally depends on what side of history. If you have the achievement, it's great.
No, I agree. I'm talking about general philosophy, though.
Yeah.
I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be a decked out tank. I'm going to get in any group I want. I'm going to be selecting people I only want in there, and it's going to be great for me. But when we talk about game philosophy, I think a lot of the things that people didn't like about LFD is just going to be present in this anyway. It's going to be like very similar. People are going to be picky, and you're going to need achievements and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it is true that groups do run better that way. It makes sense. Like, you're never going to be like, let me try out someone on the lower scale just to keep things fresh.
See how it goes.
What's so funny is there's like add-ons that work completely great for like just leaking fake achievements.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So like you can like leak anything. So unless there is an armory to look somebody up, like everybody's just gonna fake that out anyhow. Like,
can you check someone else's achievements in game in Wrath? You can in retail now, right?
You have to like right click them. And
I think
yeah.
If you right click them, I think so.
Okay.
But yes.
Yeah, I mean, it is cool. I mean, the current group finder UI is awful, and nobody uses it. People will actually use this. So
yeah, I think you're right. I think people will use it, and especially if you have to like be in it just to use the looking for group channel. I guess people could come up with their own channel. But I think this does look fairly easy.
It's a good happy medium between the people that were really against looking for dungeon and the people that really wanted looking for dungeon, right? Like, this kind of serves the purpose that I think the people that were upset that we're not getting looking for dungeon can be happy about this, and the people that really didn't want the looking for dungeon are
killing dead servers. Killing dead servers is a major factor that makes us work better than if they just let things roll like it was in TBC and then release this, there'd be a lot of issues. But if servers are going to have a decent enough population at the beginning, I don't think it'll make a big difference. Everything will be like relatively clean on most servers.
Yeah. All right. Well, so the next thing, I don't really know how much we really need to cover over this. It's like so they have these new three pillars of the game, and the pillars are nurture and protect social experiences, approachable and familiar, and then the world is the main character. So, like, I don't know how to really summarize what they like. The world is the main character. They're wanting.
I love that. The last one.
I don't like it too.
Said, is that the world is the main character? Yeah, Melderon and I've kind of said that before in our videos. Yeah.
But then, like, approachable and familiar, I don't know.
What's approachable and familiar?
Just the
design
like their
value.
Yeah, their design philosophy.
Yeah.
If they're going to change
feel
items,
like you're coming back to something
Yeah.
that you've seen before.
Yeah, their idea is we're going to make changes, but the changes need to be approachable and familiar. They need to still seem like they are within the
spirit of classic WoW.
I mean, my problem with this is it doesn't make sense. If you're talking about a season of mastery, that's fine, but a lot of these design principles were already starting to get thrown out when Wrath was getting made. Like, the world is the main character is cool, but you've started designing continents to be flown over and not looked at already. So it's already like you're at a competing odds with each other. That's why I like LFD, is because people at the point in Wrath already didn't care about this sort of stuff. And that's sort of how I feel. Like, with Vanilla, people care about this stuff a lot. With Wrath, I think it's sort of like, I don't know if people care the same amount.
Yeah, but the air and the clouds are part of the world.
That's true. Sorry, sorry. In my head, the atmosphere is the main character. Like, what's the nitrogen content of the atmosphere? And then, I mean, I like it. This is like a promising thing for them to say. For sure. But I mean, it's just.
Can I throw out a theory for the characters or the world's the main character?
Yeah.
So in the retail versions of the game, again, referring back to that, they a giant complaint is that, like, your character is the main character and you're like fighting these intergalactic gods and like killing them and stuff. This does feel like a fork in the road where, I mean, there's no proof or anything for this, but it feels like once Wrath's done, I think they're going to fork off from the retail timeline, and maybe Wrath is when you're going to get the Wrath, like Wrath Plus or new expansions going in a different direction.
Yeah, there's I've heard a lot of those Wrath Plus stuff. Yeah. This is like the preparation of, hey, we're going to start making changes and we're going to start doing it in a way that is classic-like, but not, to kind of, really advancing the game still. And
I had never really thought about that too. Like, Jordy came on the show and he writes for TV in Hollywood.
Nice.
And he follows stories a lot, and he said, like, I like classic because, I'm just one of the people. I'm not the main character. Whereas in retail now, you are the main character. I thought to myself, I like being the main character in single player games, but I don't like it in MMOs, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the leveling, it's like a weird diversion because I actually like the leveling experience for that reason. They have a much more like put together story in retail when you're leveling because you are the main character. But then after that, it's so weird. You're like, wait, I thought I was the admiral commander of all the alliance. Why? Who are all you people? Why are there 10,000 of us now?
And this is something I've been like talking about a lot too. Like when we're talking about on I think Bob on last Def Talk that we had, something that I was like really wanted to see is after Wrath was finished, what you were saying, Hark, about like doing a game, like whether it be Classic Plus or whatever, like that has a lot of the elements. Because I said I loved Legion. Legion was a great expansion mechanic wise. Like healing felt great. I love doing Mythic Plus. The Mythic content of the fights felt so awesome. But like you said, Yip, being in the like Paladin Order Hall and everyone's got the Ashbringer and everyone's got this. They lost the element of like what it felt like of the world in Classic, and you had these really great mechanics and you had these great functions in the game, even though there were some systems that like weren't the greatest, like the best, like the artifact system and whatnot, and the way some of the legendaries worked and how you got them. But the thing was, like, the content felt challenging, it felt good, And if you can mix that kind of like good feeling of how the content felt with the reward system of Classic, with like not feeling like you're actually getting rewarded for doing the content, feeling like you're actually part of the world, feeling like you can do something that isn't so, like I always said, like maybe doing low level raids or something like that, where you feel engaged earlier on than just getting to the end game. If they could like mix those two together, that concept of the world first with the classic and that classic style with like the functionality and the design and some of the challenges that they had in like Legion and in retail, I think they would really have something like really special and really good.
I have a last hypothetical here. I kind of want to challenge Harskare on what he thinks the world is the main character means.
Let's hear it.
Because in retail, Azeroth is actually a sleeping titan that's going to become like an actual titan. So I'm thinking that they're actually just going to release Battle for Azeroth after Wrath of the Lich King because they want to. The world is the main character.
And the
We're
memes
sick of you
keep
people
coming.
thinking that you're the main character. We're gonna make Azeroth the
just truncate it and get us right to the meat and potatoes PFA, right?
Yeah, let's just be a couple expansions behind.
But I was gonna say these pillars seem like way too much work and effort to make a couple tweaks to Wrath, don't they? Like it has to be something.
Yeah, there has to be.
It seems like they've come up
stage for something bigger, right?
Well,
and I think Harskar's right that it's not just, hey guys, we've put so much effort into Wrath for you guys just to go to Cataclysm Plus and all of this. Like, I just don't know that. Like, this would have been a great thing for them to do when Classic came out, right? But I think they were on the no changes bandwagon, and then there was some changes, and now they're trying to get their mind around like, okay, what does the community really want? Because when we do no changes, the community gets mad. When we do some changes, the community gets mad. And just trying to figure out what is it that is the heart of where we're going with this.
When you said order hall stuff, you made me think about something. Are any of you guys Rick and Morty fans?
I have not watched it much. No,
I've seen it.
All right, so the class order hall reminds me of the Citadel of Ricks because it's like all these like trans-dimensional Ricks coming together, and it's like, oh, you have the Ashbringer too. Oh, you have the Ashbringer too. like the only way you can actually make that work is that they're all like interdimensional paladins that are the same paladin that are just in this. Do you know what I mean? That have the same.
Hey, I can see Blizzard going down that path.
Yeah.
Well, I think
if you guys you got to watch Rick and Morty. It's really, really good. That's all I can say. I like it a lot. Yeah.
I should probably. It's been on the list for so long now. It's just so much to catch up on,
Yeah, he's been getting me to try to watch it.
Well, I mean, I think Harskar's. There's a streamer, isn't there? That's like that keeps hinting that there's something big in the works for Wrath.
What, Towley or something?
Towley, I think.
Towley.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all because Wrath was the peak. I think all of us are feeling some sort of fatigue that's like, are we doing this forever? Are we like, do I just play this game, the old versions? I know what's coming out over and over again. Or like they really are, to keep people, they really are going to need to like introduce better designed how we want it, new content. I think that's the way forward.
Do you think maybe Season of Mastery scared the shit out of them? They thought they could just... After Wrath, like hit the button again, and then they're like, "Well, maybe we can't," like.
I'll tell you the truth right now. If they bring out something after Wrath that isn't Cataclysm, that's actually classic inspired, I would actually try it. Just even though
same.
I'm not saying I would like it, but I would definitely try it.
I think Season of Mastery was a great experiment for them. I think it showed them what to do and what not to do, and. I really like I'm putting like if I could put money on it, I would. I feel like maybe after this retail expansion and after Wrath, they're going to merge the two together instead of just having Classic and maybe they'll have Forever Classic realms that you can play, whatever. But I think they'll probably try to merge the two design philosophies and even the teams together to try to create something that is vanilla inspired, Classic inspired, but still new, right? And I think that if they're smart, they could do something really good with that. And I think a lot of people who, to try to bridge the gap between the Classic player and the retail player and make a game for everyone, right? So I think it'd be cool. Really smart to do that.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. But just like we don't have a ton of time to like get into. Like we could get into this forever. We probably will as shows go on get into like more of this stuff but there's just not going to be enough time in this episode. But there's a ton of different changes and stuff we'll be talking about in the weeks to come. But I did want to go over the Nax will receive buffs, but all they've said so far is they're buffing health and damage of mobs and bosses, which I feel like will just make it longer, not really necessarily harder.
Yeah. So this tells me they decided to go the easy route than to design a heroic version of Nax. That's all it tells me, right? Like the heroic version of Nax would have been the best thing to do in my opinion, but it takes way too much thinking and input. This is just kind of like a happy medium in my opinion.
Or maybe they just don't have time. Yeah, maybe they just don't have time.
That's what I mean. This is a lot faster, right? This is a quicker way of getting to some change Nax, because Nax was, trust me, Defcamp and I ran a guild in the beginning of Nax, and we had the most ragtag group of people and we cleared it no problem.
Yep.
Like it's gonna get destroyed, dude. Like it's gonna if it doesn't get changed.
Dude, we had real life friends that we ran a 10-man with, and then we grouped with another guild to run the 25-mans every week.
Yeah.
And dude, 2 of our guys in our 10-man would get so drunk they would just stop like even moving, and we'd still finish Nax without him. Like
Bob, we had a mage who would blizzard the boss. Target blizzard. Yeah. And
then he would run out of mana, right? Because like super quick, and then he would just wand the boss the whole time. Just wand it while like everyone else was. And it was pretty funny. And someone had said, "Who is this Mel? That word you hate? Who is this R word in this raid?" And I said, "Hey," and he's not. He actually wasn't my brother. Obviously, Defcamp's my brother. But I knew him, and I said, "Yo, dude, that's my brother. Like, this is the only time he gets a chance to play like X, Y." And I went into this whole thing, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. I didn't know he was. I didn't know like because I was telling him he's a little different, and this is how he enjoys the play." And the guy gets so sorry. Like, he just gets
that's hilarious.
In real life, the guy was just really bad. He's just terrible.
We should made him feel like he was actually mentally disabled.
Listen, his laptop had nothing to do with him blizzarding a single target. That was not his laptop.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, Yip, do you have any thoughts on this? Like, will it actually make it better or harder?
No, it's stupid and dumb. I personally am in the crowd that says just leave it. I don't care. Make Nax a 2-month phase, get it over with.
Yeah.
Let me level
I'm
all
same
during
way.
that time.
Yeah.
Like as long as we can complete it in our guild in like 2.5 hours in one night, I don't care. But if this makes it so long that like we have to 2-night this nonsense, I'm gonna be like upset during this time, because we've already done Nax. Nax was super easy, so people could see it. I've already seen it,
and we want to see a lot
of it again.
Yeah, if we would have challenged, we would have tried to work on downing 3 drakes while it's that phase, like. So I mean, I just feel like the entry level one should be easy. People are saying that it's way easier than Kara was at the start.
Yeah,
but
it might still be super easy. With this buff, it could be that it's the easiness that I want it to be still.
Yeah.
And it just would have been like really dumb if they don't do this, but I don't have a frame of reference. So for me, like a under 3 hour one night of Naxxramas is my ideal. I want to be running like multiple raids. I want to get different characters up during this kind of beginning time, and there's going to be like a lot of heroics to do and stuff. So I just don't want to be spending a lot of time in Nax again.
Yeah, and it's hard for me to really think about it, because during Nax phase 1, I mean, I don't really know how really hard it was, because we were doing it with so many just bad players, right? And like Mel and I then went on to the next phase, Ulduar. We joined towards the end of phase 1, we joined like a really good guild, and then like that was very different, and so like I don't really even truly know how easy Nax was just because of that.
Yeah, look at it this way, like we had some good people in that guild we had, right? And one of the Death Knights we had was like super, super good. His DPS was like unbelievable.
Dude, ours too. It was like double. It was like double mine, and mine was second.
Yeah, but today, that if that person was unaltered moving into today, they'd be considered a bad player, right?
Or just average.
Yeah, or average. So just think about how much more damage is going to go out. Like, it's going to be insane, dude, compared to first time people went and said, because for most people, for 99% of the WoW community, that was the first time they ever set foot in Nex, was in Wrath. So, so I think something had to be done, but I also agree with Yip. It is a really good point. Like, if it becomes like painstakingly painful now instead of like fun, that's going to be a problem. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, it should be fine either way, and hopefully a short phase.
Any thoughts, Jack? Harskare?
Super, it doesn't do anything for me. I'm just accepted that phase 1 is sorting out what players are probably going to last, because the first phase of every expansion is always the big turnover and leveling alts. So yeah, I can take it or leave it. It doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, would you have been kind of excited if there was a heroic, or just, I really personally like the Ulduar way of turning hard modes on in each boss by doing certain things. I think it it's cooler in the world rather than just clicking heroic or, whatever. Everybody going into what's his name, Melderon, and everybody's like, don't touch the red button.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, I don't know.
I always thought that was a really cool design philosophy, Bob, and I'm sad they moved away from it.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It a lot.
They definitely could have worked on it and made it something really interesting, where it could have, done something in the middle of the fight to engage hard mode, and
same, like
in future expansions and later raids and Wrath. I think that could have been really cool.
Yeah, I thought so too. Okay, well, any other thoughts on that before we move on to the last little piece here? Okay, so the next piece, I'll just be straight up. I think this is really cool. So they're changing emblems in Wrath, okay? So throughout Wrath, you got a new emblem every raid tier. And it got really kind of confusing around the TOC time, especially the TOC. The gearing process was really weird. I remember absolutely hating it. But they're basically just going to make it, there's 2 emblems for the entire patch, and all old content and heroics will drop the emblem of Valor. No, it's the emblem of just the like lower tier emblem, and then all the current raids for that raid tier will drop the big emblems, even 10-mans. So the 10-mans you'll be able to buy with the emblems you get from 10-mans, you'll be able to buy the 0.5 raid tier gear.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of a cool change. And then as it goes on, what that means is you'll be able to buy the current lower tier gear each phase with the emblems that drop from heroics, because it'll keep changing. Like when you move over the gear that did cost the I'm not explaining this well. The gear that
so here, I think I have a way of explaining it. So
yeah,
help me out. So if Trial of the Crusader is out, you can go to heroics, get emblems to buy Ulduar gear.
Yes,
that's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that.
I think it'll keep heroics viable longer.
Yeah, I think what's really cool in TBC right now is the fact that you can do Kara, you can do ZA just to get a bunch of badge to get the really good badge gear that's out right now. Like, you know what I mean? To keep stuff relevant. Too. Right. Yeah.
So my question is, I have one question about this. Say you're running 10-man TOC, right? It drops the current badge. What stops you from buying higher item level than 10-man gear from the current patch, the current raid?
Nothing. That's the whole thing. The stuff that drops in, they're keeping it to where the stuff they thought about changing it to where the same gear dropped to both 10 and 25, but they decided not to do that. But they did decide the same high level badges drop from both of them. So you will be able to buy the 25-man gear with the badges you get in current 10-man.
Yeah, and that's only like offset pieces, right? Or wait, forget. What is that? That's like offset stuff, right?
I think you can buy 2 tier pieces.
I think it's tier.
Oh, wow. Okay, 2 tier. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's fair.
I think you can buy all tier, right? Like it's just a lot of them. Like
lower. I thought it was like a different version.
It might be.
It is. There's different tiers for different. Like 10-man has a different tier.
Yeah, we've got 7 and tier 7 and tier 7.5 and tier 8 and tier 8.5.
Yeah, there's slightly color change. Like they look different too, a little bit different, like visually, just color differences. Yeah.
And they're
heroic when heroic comes out. There's heroic, right?
That's what I meant with heroic. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, I mean there's a third level, right? Isn't there? Like there's 7.
No, 7.5 heroic and normal. I think. Yeah.
Okay, so
there is a heroic version, but who knows what they're going to do with that?
Yeah, so that's why it was so confusing back in the TOC
when ICC
days.
came out, there was 3 different tiers, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think there was just 2.
I don't remember, but I didn't play ICC.
Said heroic on it. Remember that, Matt?
Yeah, there was heroic and non-heroic here.
But there's 10-man.
No, I think it was just 10-man gear. I think you just got less gear from 10-man, right? It was not as much gear drops.
I thought it was more gear drops, but I could be wrong.
Dropped in 25, man. I think it was the same gear. I don't know if there were I don't remember if there was only certain pieces that dropped in heroic, but I remember that the tier sets. So there was normal tier and then there was heroic tier. You know?
I distinctly remember, maybe they changed it during the course, but I distinctly remember Naxx. The 10-man tier gear for TK was a different color than the 25-man tier gear.
See, like where I was during TOC, Melderon, is where you were for the past 2 months. I was checked out, man. I was like not really paying attention to a lot of stuff.
Yeah, if you look up right now, because there was no heroic in original Wrath Naxx, right? If you look up right now, there was a tier 7 and a tier 7.5, and they were different colors.
Yeah, those were the difference between 10 and 25 in Naxx. We just don't know what it was in TOC.
For ICC, though, it was different. I think once TOC came out, then it just became normal and heroic.
Normal and heroic. Okay, that makes sense.
So I can tell you guys for sure in ICC, there was a 10-man tier, and then there was a better 25-man tier. And then when you ran heroic, some items would drop on the bosses that you could turn in to upgrade your 25-man tier into a heroic version.
Okay. Okay, so there is 3 tiers then in ICC. Yeah. Okay.
And that might have been was that in TOC also? I really can't remember
because that's when heroic came out, right?
Yeah, that is definitely when it came out.
Yeah.
But the system was a little bit different, but because you bought all the tier outside, it was strange.
Yep, it was really strange.
You bought it right out. Yeah. TOC is when the first heroic raids came out, though, right? Because there was 10-man, 25-man for Naxx and Ulduar. There was hard mode in Ulduar. Yeah. But then TOC was when there was a lot of changes in Wrath that happened
from each raid. But I mean, the coolest thing in Wrath, we can all agree, is the new mechanic jousting. It was I hated jousting so much. Oh my
god, dude! I love doing those.
Did you like those?
The music. I didn't like the joust. I love the music there, though, man.
I did think
enjoyed doing those dailies.
Those were kind of neat how they opened stuff up. I didn't like the gear and the rest of the stuff, but
yeah, I do have fond memories of doing the dailies there as a paladin. That's when I started leveling my paladin up and stuff. Yeah, it was fun.
But this is a change I do like. So I don't know if that's. Anybody have any last thing before we talk about just the very last thing, number 8, just theory-wise? Anybody?
No.
Okay, so this one kind of jumped out at me, and I was talking to some guildies this week, and I hadn't heard this, but they announced that the new World of Warcraft retail expansion will be releasing this year. And so that kind of now I do believe it could possibly be, really soon for Wrath, even as early as, August. Wait, no, whatever.
If the 8 is already
whatever 9 is.
August pre-patch, I think makes sense.
Yeah.
And then September release, because that would still be in quarter 3, right?
Yeah, so I think that something like that makes sense. I mean, they also, though, if you recall, did not mind at all overlapping Shadowlands with Naxx release.
I know.
So I don't know if they care. Maybe they learned
that's
better
a scary
to
point.
Pay attention. But I tried making guesses last time. based on dates of their other games. But
did you see a significant effect of Shadowlands coming out for you guys?
Yeah, we have a bunch of retail players.
Oh,
we had a bunch of retail players, and it didn't like hurt our raid or anything like that. But it was like everyone was offline and on.
It was on Shadowlands. Didn't we take a 1 week raid break, or am I crazy?
Yeah, we took a 1 week break, but I think it
was for Thanksgiving though. It wasn't.
Yeah, it coincided with Thanksgiving. Yeah,
it definitely like Thanksgiving and Christmas really hurt our guild's Naxx stuff, and I think retail hurt it a little bit too, just because people weren't like as interested. Like there was a few of us in the guild that farmed those stones, from the event prior, but not a ton of people did. There was prep things that we probably would have been better off on had the retail stuff been just kind of in a different spot. But yeah, that's a good point. Yep, I didn't even think about that. Hopefully they learned from that.
I don't know how much it impacted. I don't know how much it impacted the general population of classic or retail. So if it impacted our guild a little bit or another guild a little bit, I don't think it had a major impact either way.
I mean, it's weird to release like 2 updates to the same game.
But I think I don't know that there's anything they could have learned from it, right? I feel like it was just common sense that that's just a weird thing to do, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I thought maybe it could mean that we're actually, because with the Microsoft deal going through, I'm guessing that Q4 numbers will be the final numbers looked at for the final price of the acquisition, would be my guess. I don't know a ton about finance, but that would be my guess, is that they're trying to get as much before that goes through.
That makes sense, Bob. That's probably why they're doing it.
I mean, usually once a deal starts, though, there's not like, usually if they've already probably agreed on terms and things like that, right?
See,
and I think
I thought that point too, until the Elon Musk stuff with Twitter and how they keeps going back and forth. So I just don't know.
I think it just depends on what type of agreement they're in right now, right? If they've already agreed on terms and things, then it would be up to Blizzard not to make any drastic changes and to continue to follow timelines that they said they were going to follow, right? As opposed to them trying to bump their numbers. Usually they try to bump their numbers before they start the negotiation process, because that's what you're presenting when you begin a negotiation, right? And then at that point, you're trying to stay status quo, where you're trying to say, like, these are our timelines that we're going to hit. We're not going to make any major impactful changes that will go up or down in the profit level.
So Sunwell.
All right. Well, very last thing, we're not going to talk about it, but if anybody's interested, the Midsummer Fire Festival is out. So go enjoy that if you want to. We talked about it last year if you want to know everything that's in it.
You can get buffs to help you in raid.
And food for raid too. One minor piece of news, Bob, that I don't know if you heard. Apparently Bobby Kotick is not leaving. He's staying on for another year or so, I think. So remember they said that before that he was going to be leaving because of all the stuff that was going on. So no, apparently he is not leaving. So
interesting.
Yeah,
I feel like that's pretty normal for
staying on as a board member or something.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Well. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting because I don't think it'll affect the company too much, but I mean, I don't know. It's going to still. I haven't heard anything happening with the Microsoft sale or whatnot, but
it's like for a smoother transition or something, like
It makes sense if there wasn't as much controversy behind Blizzard right now, right? Like that's the only reason that we figured he would.
Well, they released an internal report that said there was no company issues, so they're good to go. And I mean, Bobby is literally Activision. Like the man, is Activision, so it's not surprising.
I hate that we share a name. Oh, I hate it. But okay. Yeah. Okay, well let's move into
Bobby, we need to have a talk about this World of Warcraft Classic. Do I look like I know what a WoW token is?
All right. So the discussion this week, I think better serves if kind of the guests kind of run this. I might bump in with some questions and some stuff, but we got the basically 2 guild leaderships from both guilds. Why don't you guys jump in? Like, where do we want to start about the whole Sunwell journey?
Let's go boss by boss.
Let's do it. Yep. Do you want to take control?
Kalecgos is a blue dragon.
Kalecgos is the most annoying piece of shit boss that Blizzard ever fucking made. Okay? Fuck Kalecgos, dude.
We had issues. We had issues with Kalecgos because we were trying to like dynamically get people to go down. So it would be like whoever gets pulled, if you're in their group, you go. But the way we ended the way we ended up killing it, or maybe consistently killing it, we might have killed it that way the first time. But the way we consistently kill it now is we just have standardized groups. If you're in group 3, it doesn't matter who gets pulled down, you're going down. And then just the healers or tanks will swap. So if a tank goes down early, then that tank who should have gone just stays up. Or if a healer goes down early, then the healer just goes up top. And it's made conversation. Like, we don't need random people calling stuff out. It was a big problem having people like speak up and what group should be going down. There's a lot of "I'm down here" getting called out with no names or no group numbers. And, but that boss is still a huge pain for us. I think only in the last week or 2 did the kill feel like reasonably under.
We never had a clean kill.
Yeah, every time we killed it, it was kind of just like, okay, we did it. I don't know that we could replicate that again in 2 weeks. But
exactly how I felt. We never had a clean kill, Def.
Yeah, well, never had like so. One of the things about this fight is right. You go in there with a plan, and then it like first of all, we'd always kill Kalecgos too quickly, right? And then one thing that we had happen a lot. Remember, we 6 healed all of our progression pretty much. There were times where we literally would have no healer up top, and the tank would just die. Right? Because someone would be like, no, don't go in the portal. And they went in the portal because they had to go down because their stacks at the last point. Again, then now we realize that all our healers are down below and there's no one healing tank up top. And we're like, okay, we can't let that happen, right? Again. But it always seemed like we had really bad luck with like who was getting put down. And like this is I think one thing that we had a lot was some bad luck, especially when we get up further to like Eridar twins and stuff like that with tanks getting the buff and whatnot. But it always seemed like we would have, the same issue where, someone would get sent down and then, the healers would go down and then the tank up top would die. And then that would happen a lot. But again, like I said, we did 6 heal pretty much all of our progression. But one thing about this fight, which I really, I just didn't like the fact that, you had very little control over like when you could go down and like, because we had the group set up a certain way. Right. And then, you'd be up top and then we only had like 1 or 2 people who could decurse. So you're up top, your curse is going off and it's just the design of the fight. Like it looks like it could be a cool design, but then like when you go into the fight and you actually deal with it, it's just a lot of like bullshit and nonsense that I feel like you have to deal with. Yeah. A lot of chaos. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't like the design personally. I feel like it's, lazy is not the word. It's not lazy. I think they were trying to do something really cool. It just didn't translate well for me. And I know it was like every week. I think we'd had them like once we got pretty confident. I think we'd usually have more wipes in that than like some of the other harder. I'm not saying more than Moru or anything like that, but it was like more than like Brutalis. It was more than what's the second dragon you fight? It was more than that.
Felmist.
Yeah. So like that was I think on paper that was our like 3rd worst boss or something like that. Like, but yeah, I mean
4th. Yeah.
I just wanted to get through it every week. It was one of those things, and I think the Sunwell was a very well designed raid. Like I'm not saying it isn't. I just think that boss is kind of not well designed.
Personally. Yeah, it doesn't. It like the randomness doesn't get better each week. I feel like where something like Vash, once you understand the mechanics really well, it doesn't matter where the Striders or Nagas come up in a week because you have like an understanding of how to deal with that. But with the Caligos, it's just like, this is mayhem.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for weeks and it's still just mayhem sometimes, and like figuring out where people are top and bottom. You can't read logs easy on the fight. Like it's a very annoying fight, but it's definitely probably one that's one of the easiest to randomly wipe on.
If I'm not mistaken, I think we actually did have to bring in a 7th healer for our first kill for Caligos.
It was either 7 or 8.
No, I think it was 7. Yeah, because everything else, I think we pretty much 6 healed.
No, it was 7, and then you guys dropped the healer.
Well, I mean, our progression for Eridar Twins, Moru, and KJ, we all 6 healed.
Yeah, but the fights before that, we actually had more.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know Caligos, our first kill was definitely, I think, with 7. Yeah.
Well,
and it kind of turned out too, like, basically, like the order of who goes down is kind of important too. Like you want like your 2 big pumper groups to go early, right? Because like I think the majority of the time, if I'm not mistaken, our biggest problem was the DPS on the boss downstairs, right?
Yeah, of course. I think
he has way more armor.
Can we
That's what it feels like, at
delay with the portal too, which is the most frustrating?
Oh, it is frustrating.
God, because I go over there as a healer and it's always on the other side of where I am, right? And so I run over there and I'm like clicking in, and at first I think like, what's going on? I'm like, it's like overlapping with the boss a little bit. So I try to like move my camera, but then somebody else gets in and there's this delay as to when I can get in. And then finally you get in, but then at the time you get in, that's when your timer starts for when you come back up, right? So then the next healer comes in on the first tick, and then now you have too many healers down below and not enough up top, or vice versa.
Very frustrating.
Yep, and that's a fight as like, someone who's like myself, a raid healer. It's like, if you're the only one up top, you better heal the tank. Like, I got to tell our raid healers, like, you're not just a raid healer in this fight. You're a tank healer too.
And everybody... I don't understand why when you say hold DPS, people just don't want to hold DPS.
Yeah.
You have to say it like 6 times. Hold DPS, stop wanding, stop doing that, stop shooting, stop auto-attacking, stop. Like, it's just like, because when you first hear that, and I'm a DPS this expansion, so I get it, right? But when you first hear stop DPS, it's like, oh, don't use like my, like as a handsome shaman, I just won't storm strike, right? Like, I'll just keep auto-attacking, or, and then I have to be like, no. Like, hit escape.
Yip will even go, not even auto attacks.
Fancy.
Yeah. This is what I've learned. You called a little bit early and you let them auto attack, because at least you give them some. Like, people can normally handle, like, if they can auto attack, it's like, okay, but backing off the boss people, it just doesn't compute.
We would push Caligos every time we told people to fully stop at 15%. So we start calling it at like 25%, and at 20% where we say just autos, because you can so quickly catch back up top again if the one below gets pushed. So that's basically what we had to do, because stopping at 15 meant Caligos was getting pushed.
It's going to transition, because like every DPS class has stop DPS a different meaning in their head. Like for Warlocks, it's like, oh, just load up the boss with dots, or mages a wand, or like everyone has an idea of what actual stop DPS means. It never means actually stop DPS. So it's like,
you should make a dance macro and say, everybody dance macro right now, go.
That's a good idea. Yeah, but Melderon, like 90% of your DPS is auto attack, isn't it?
yeah, it's about 75%, I think. Down to
I mean, isn't that the way it is for warriors and for rogues too? I mean, your auto attacks are over 50% of your damage.
I think shaman and rogue, I think, are a bit higher than warrior.
Even more. I haven't been paying attention to my warrior on that as much.
In Classic, before we move on to Brutalis, in Classic, on Onyxia, dude, rogues would keep auto attacking and they're literally doing 95% of their normal DPS. It's like, wait, what?
Oh, that's good. Good stuff.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, I was just gonna let you, Yip, like kind of decide when to move on.
Yeah, let's move on to Brutalis, who that was the big reason I swapped off my warrior, because I was envisioning being stuck on Brutalis, and then our off tank needing to swap in with me while I sit there dual wielding or sit outside the raid. So that's what made me swap to Bear. yeah, Brutalis. I don't know. Harskare, what did you think about Brutalis? Because we had to swap our strategy from our original jump in and pizza.
yeah. I think up until Brutalis with the guild as a whole, we very loosely did healing assignments. Like I think Brutalis was the first fight where we had to do very, very strict healing assignments, just because the kind of damage that was going out. And then obviously watching just VODs of people doing it more and more efficient ways helped us a ton. Trying to think what else. We had our prop pally heal, so that was like an 8th healer, which really helped. I don't have a ton else to add on Brutalis.
Yeah, I personally feel it's the whole positioning and people not running through people with burn. And then I don't know. I blocked myself away from healing for TBC because I got out of healing. But I don't know if there's anybody. I don't think anyone plays melee here. But this is the first raid in TBC where I feel like melee had a way easier job than ranged.
Harskare's a Fury now. He was a hunter for a long time, but
yeah.
But the melee, I mean, our melee are dinguses. No, sorry guys if you're listening. But our first, like, I would even say 2 nights of Brutalis, it was melee just for some reason didn't understand that they were supposed to like stand in one spot. For us, like we just have them all stand, and we would pull, and I'd be like, why are there 3 melee on the other side? Like on the side that the burn zone's on. And it was like super confusing. And I was like, why are you over there? And they're like, oh, I thought we were supposed to be. I was like, all right, this is okay, let's solve that problem. But once people knew where to stand, it became super easy. And luckily our DPS was good enough that we haven't had issues with like the Berserker at all. Yeah. And Double Druid's pretty good too.
Oh yeah.
Well, what?
Yeah, I did the healing coordination. Well, I do all the healing, assignments for our guild and everything for our healing, and the healing on this. I love this fight as a healer. I love
a really good fight, I think.
And I gotta say that the melee pissed me off a little bit here because I was well, I'll get into that. But so this fight as a healer, we have myself as a COH healer. We had another COH healer, and then the main thing is that you want to make sure that you have a ton of healing for when it was Stomp, right? What was it called? Yeah. On the tank for when the Stomp came out, and you want to make sure you had a ton of healing for the burn. And as the burn works, right, the damage increases over time with the burn. So, we would have one dedicated person. Like we said, we had our prop paladin help heal here as well. But we had basically a dedicated, I think we had our paladin healer, on the burn target.
Yep.
And we made sure that we had a resto shaman and then a priest. Also, we wanted to keep inspiration up on the tanks the whole time. I would be shielding, or the other priest would be shielding with the stomp. So it was a lot of coordination here in terms of healing. A lot of, make sure that the burn targets aren't dying. A lot of times, sometimes the burn targets would just run out of range from their healer and was like, guys, you got to come back. And then as a healer where I was, whenever I got burned, so I was positioned away where I couldn't just go left to go burn. I had to run through the boss. And every time I run to the boss, he's so fucking big and his ass is so huge, I can barely see the melee where they are. So I'm like, okay, here I come. And there's always like one person not stacked with the melee group. I'm like,
we aren't stacked.
Right. And what I mean is, but there's always one person like all the way like far, like on the other side, like where, so like you got, most of the melee are like one clump area, right?
We're in a clump, but we're using the hitbox to make separation. But
there was always a couple people that were like always by the ass, like exactly like where I had to run through. So I usually would have to call it like, okay, here I come and running through with the burn. And we tried a couple times to have the boss position so that we could be burned on either side, but obviously it doesn't work if you have it just off a little bit. You get hit by the fire thing and you get one shot basically. So as far as like healing goes, like I think this was actually probably one of my most memorable fights. In Sunwell, I don't think it was the fight I did the best on. It was like a 97 or so, but still it was but it's a fun fight for healing for sure.
Well, I've got a couple questions on that though.
Just to go on the healing thing, though, we changed things a little bit, I think, in the way we were positioned. That
was my question, because we were having a lot of problems with the burdens. I was going to ask what we changed healing-wise to fix that problem, because it seems to be not a problem now at all.
I mean, I don't know that the positioning change helped healing wise. I think it was just more people focusing, understanding the damage output that was coming on the tanks versus the burn targets. And when the burn targets were starting to take a lot of damage, right? I think it just took our healers a little bit of time to prioritize, because if the tank's dying, you're going to heal the tank and you're going to forget about the burn target and say whatever. And then people positioning wise as to where they're standing so that they're not going out of our range. I think understanding what 4 yards apart means versus 12, because everybody was kind of 12 yards apart initially.
Yeah, 4 yards is 4
yards
small.
apart is like an arm's length. But we didn't have to run through the boss at all. We had like one ranged group like on the back end right side of the boss, and then one ranged group on the front end right side of the boss, and then the burn was like in the middle, right? I mean, remembering that correctly?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, so on the head, tail, and then left or right was melee and burn. So you just ran like a little bit through your ranged people to get to the burn.
Yeah,
and
but it's still similar principle to instead of the melee, you're avoiding some range. But the big thing that helped, I think, with healing too is like super clear calls. So Mira, our other druid tank, stopped dying as much once we started calling out when stomps were coming out.
Yeah,
just like stuff like that, because healers are looking at health bars and not like timers, like
absolutely
much. So those sort of calls I think helped a lot. And then being super clear, Brutalis is one of those fights. It's like being super specific about when you're taunting matters a lot, just because at the beginning we would be like, okay, we're going to taunt after this comes out, and then maybe it's like 5 more seconds before we're actually doing, or maybe like we'll wait a few seconds or do it early, and healers are in the middle of a cast or something and you're just wiped out. So those kind of things are really important.
The thing is too, like when healing on a fight where the tanks are swapping, a lot of times it's good to at least have like one priest or one shaman to try to start getting inspiration on the tank that's going to be taunting, or really one to hold the shield until the stomp comes, so you don't want to have the debuff on them. But I think one thing, I know Mel, you can attest to this, right? When you don't have healing assignments and you just say, okay, we'll just go whatever, you see this happen all the time. It happened a lot more in Classic, but it still happens in TPC where, if you don't have anyone on the side of the raid or tanks, or obviously there's always like more certain tank killer healers or what, but you'll see someone in range start to die, everyone goes to heal that person, boom, then the tank dies, right?
Yep.
And this is like the most important time, like obviously where you need to really commit to just having one person on this, one person on that, and it becomes even especially in Sunwell, but there were raids where we could just have, okay, we have these 3 people are tank healing, you're on this person on this tank, and then the rest of these people are raid healing, right? But this was a fight where we really literally had to have like each person, and we did this for all of Sunwell, we make a sheet, and we did this for other raids as well, where each person has a specific job. That's what they have to do. They have to stick to that. And that way we don't have things happening like, oh, this one person took damage, everyone went to heal it, and then the tank died, right? So it's like really important here to make sure, and to also know, like you said, Yip, when the damage is coming out. Biff, our druid tank, would always call out, taunting now, or getting ready to taunt, after this amount. And then, stomp coming soon, need big heals, making sure that the tank, before they taunt, they have inspiration and stuff like that. Like, just makes such a huge difference.
How important is inspiration on our druid tanks? Because I remember at one point you guys mentioning that it didn't.
It only matters so stomp cuts our armor in half. So anytime there's an armor debuff, but otherwise we're armor capped usually with Iron Shield on. It depends. You can not. I know some druids are like going under armor cap now, but without like a 90% inspiration rate, I don't think that it's like worth it on a lot of fights in Sunwell, because some of these fights are pretty nuts. So I don't know about Mira, but I'm armor cap with Iron Shield no matter what, so it doesn't make a difference.
Well, sorry. Go ahead.
I'd say Defcamp, just as a quick question, because like I said, we just recently started doing very strict healing assignments, and I was the one that was putting this together. Part of the reason that I was really like hesitant to do it in the past was like having the healers be dynamic in some cases was super nice if a healer goes down or something like that. Did you guys ever run into issues where like a tank healer goes down and the tank all of a sudden like his healing just gets cut off, he dies and wipes? Or do you have, that was what I was always kind of hesitant.
Yeah, so one of the things that I always made sure was, is that as a raid healer, like we were pretty lucky to where we had 2 raid healers, like 2 priests all the time. And, whenever a tank healer would go down, we make sure to call it out and say, okay, no, this tank's going to need extra healing, right? One thing that I would do as a priest, like my job as well, was kind of like a floater. So I a lot of times would fill in that role. So if someone that I knew, well, like a tank healer died, I knew that I could kind of, go heavier and help with that tank a little bit, right? And we really had a good healing coordination with myself. We had some really good shaman healers that were just absolutely amazing, to where I knew that if I had to, I could focus a little bit more on tank healing, and they could focus a little bit more on raid healing, and we can kind of fill that in. So one thing I think that is important when doing that is to try to have someone that's a little bit like a floater, so that if something like that does happen, you can have that floater kind of pick up that role. I tended to be that floater more times than not.
I think that's what we ended up doing, is having one person that's kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Let them do the decision making. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I think it's really cool, because I think healing is something that, a lot of times, like the DPS will be like, oh, well, where was the, they're usually like the first people to be blamed, right? But then they're the last people to be thanked when things like go really well. I mean, it's just how it is, right? It's a role that's kind of how it is. But I think in Sunwell, what was really cool is, this was, at least for me, I've played other expansions and whatnot, but I feel like this was one of the first times where like healing really shined more so than in the rest of TBC and in the rest of Classic, where, like fights like Moro and whatnot, where there's just so much raid damage going out, when it's a healing problem and when it's not, right? And a lot of times, there were healing issues because we were, 6 healing versus 7 healing on certain fights. But it really, I think, was a time for like healers to, coordinate where they needed to go, and like to be a lot more vigilant on what your assignments were than before. Even in Black Temple, we were nowhere near as strict on assignments, maybe on like Illidan, than we were in Sunwell. Sunwell was a whole different ball game, really.
It was a whole different game healing in Sunwell. Yeah. Like, it made it so that you actually had to focus on mana conservation and like, what rank spells you were using. Before, it was kind of like, you're not going to run out of mana, right? Like, I'm going to take a mana pot and I'll be fine. And this was the first time that you actually had to really focus on that and actually, split your heals across different spells, and you couldn't just use one mass, like just circle of healing the whole time, right? You had to really focus on where, like, which bosses people were spread out more than they were clumped up, and you had to use different heals for those. And I think it was fun. It was interesting.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. You guys are giving such good points of like knowing when and right times to do stuff. But like, I'm trying, like, for instance, locks on that fight. If you get the burn, knowing that the burn does very little damage at the start and does a ton later, you need to know that if you need to tap at all, you need to do 1 or 2 taps immediately as you're running over, which you're probably going to do if you're running. But just knowing that you're not going to be able to do it later, you need to have those taps done, or else you're out of the fight until burn's over.
I don't think warlocks know when they can't tap, because I feel like they tap and then
I think it didn't matter as much before. Like, this is one fight where that certain mechanic, it really matters.
How'd the warlock die? I don't know. He tapped until he had 3 health and he had burn. So
yeah. How did the Shadow Priest die?
He killed himself.
As soon as it ticked.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah. But I don't know, man. I just, that fight is so great because I just run in. I have a spot on that fight, and this is going to sound, but if Brutalis had genitalia, I basically stand right underneath of it, and I don't move, and I just beat the shit out of him. It's great. I just basically just do one of these on his punching bags. You know what I mean?
Speed bag. The speed bag.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like Melee has a really. I feel like Sunwell was so kind to Melee. I don't know why. I just feel that way.
After an expansion of not being kind, and then they're like, let's.
Yeah. I mean, even a lot of fights in Black Temple were kind to Melee too. Like, it wasn't that bad.
Yep. And after they nerfed SSC and TK, it was pretty much fine for Melee.
Yeah.
I also think Tank Threat got a lot better over the expansion too, which helped.
Yeah, so like that's what I was saying. So some of our tanks were actually not armor capped because they had to get more gear for threat. So we did have at one point we did have 2 druids, and then we had a paladin and then one of our druids had to go for a while, so we had AL tanking on as a warrior. So but yeah, we had, I don't know if it was only on a couple fights, I think, where they were under armor cap, but yeah, so a lot of things like that you got to take into consideration. Are they going more threat heavy? Are they going more, armor heavy on wood fights and whatnot? So, yeah, it's a really fun raid, I think.
Yeah, I think the best way to go through these fights is like what were our challenges, and I think where ours was initially was positioning. Then the tanks forgot where they had to stand, and then it was burns because people were running through people with burn. And I was like, listen, like look at the boss. He is huge. And I was like, just run. If you don't know where to run through the boss, right? Yeah. Like, or try to find, and as soon as like people start figuring that out, that they could stand like potentially somewhere inside the boss's model that wasn't near melee, or run through the boss at least that direction, it was like fine. See, that was it.
I've always been the back row, so I've had it easy as pie. I just back up, and then walk to the side, just take a roundabout way. But I do feel bad for the people in the middle. Like Mel would always be like, guys, make room. I'm coming through.
Yeah.
Nah, I just start like glowing, and people are like, oh, okay. And they like move out of the way.
Well, that's what we do now. But early on, like lots of people were like calling out, hey, get out of my way.
Yeah, I almost killed Boogie last week, like you said. So I didn't call out that I was running, but I thought I saw a clean path, right? Because I thought I saw all the melee, and then I see like someone's hammer go up like underneath fucking Brutalis' ass, and I'm like, oh my god, there's Boogie right there. So I go around, and it's so funny. He's like, Dad, what are you doing?
Yeah, all the melee, we're standing inside of him, because it allows us not, if we have burn, we don't have to move. Right. The only time that sucks is if you're in a certain position, you got to swing with the boss, not to parry him. But I found this spot that I'd never parried. It was like, I was like, this is it. This is my spot. No one else gets this spot. I'm standing right here, and I can just sit in the burns. But
well, speaking of the burn, nobody's talked about the most fun thing is when a wipe's called and there's still a ton of people up. You get the bird, and then you run over to the hunters, or you run to the rogues that have vanished. It's great.
That's why I love doing that on KJ when you have the buff, you just like run everyone and just yeah.
Oh yeah, I actually did that on I just love giving it to everybody when we wipe, and I accidentally ran to a hunter, and I was like, oh shit. Afterwards, I was like, that was toxic as hell. They were feigned. Yeah, they were gonna survive. Oh my god, I'm a dick.
Listen, if the hunter can res, then I think it would have been toxic. But
I mean, lots of them can.
Fight, dude.
Yeah, make them pay for some repair. Like the rest of us.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, does anybody else have anything else to add?
Like hearing that. No, I think Brutalis is a pretty simple fight. Like once you get those pieces down, the Melderon said, it all kind of comes together and it's pretty clean. I think the biggest scare for us is just a tank dying, but it's still a super forgiving fight because you can res and it's a taunable boss and stuff. So
yeah, exactly.
It actually doesn't even matter if a tank goes down. You can still do it pretty easily. We've had to do it a couple times. Felmist, however, is the bane of our existence, and I hate it. It's the worst fight.
I love that.
We have inexplicably we'll spend hours on this boss for. And
I think only once though. I think that only happened once, right?
No, we wipe a lot. We wipe a lot on Felmist every week.
Yeah, but I think it was only once. It was over an hour, right?
Like it seems like a boss fight that once you do it, we shouldn't be wiping anymore like that much, but for some reason we still sneak
stupid things.
I love how you guys explained the resetting to the middle part in detail the last time we did it. I was like, this is great.
Yeah, we had to go through the exact instructions because it is like, I don't know, there's something about it that's like, it's a little babyish, so it's easy to call north and south. So not everyone, I feel like, learns the breath mechanic. Whereas like Onyxia, it was super easy and embarrassing to die from the breath. So you kind of had to like learn it yourself in order to make sure you lived. But this one, I feel like nobody actually thought about how to live.
I got to look at health bars. I don't have time to be looking up in the sky.
No one gets hurt. Like I guess the people get hurt with it taking AoE, but That's
Well, something that I learned just last week. Now, to be fair, I've been sat like I think more times on Felmis than I've actually been in. So I really suck at that fight. But like now I learned for the first time, I thought the skeletons left the trail of fog that kills you, but I found out that it's the actual beam. And I just didn't realize that. So, and like when it leaves it, the stuff is invisible for a second, or at least it was on my graphics setting that I had. I just recently found out that for the past few weeks I've been playing on graphics level 1 because we did council, and I was like, why can I not see the stuff on the ground? Like GTFO's yelling. I looked at my graphics and I must have turned it down for a quest and never turned it back up. But yeah, so like I go exactly to where the beam had just left because I was dodging the beam, and then died immediately. And I was like, I just had to ask. I was like, how does this work? And they told me, but it was most likely because my graphics were down that I actually didn't see it. So
you guys, there was one time this last week where I'm not kidding you, the beam just like came down and shot me.
Yeah,
and, like,
so
exploded me.
Apparently, I'm just gonna take the word of the people who said this happened. So normally there's 2 beams, right? They follow people around. Yeah. For some reason, a third one shot down and killed a couple people.
What?
And it was really weird. 2 people ran, no one died, and then like 3 people died to it. And I was like, we're having people die to this. Why? And they're all like, a third one shot down at us.
Yeah, we had a
mine was the next time, and a beam, like it was the initial beam. It wasn't targeted on me, but it shot down right where I was standing, and it wasn't looking. I don't know if I could see it coming or something, but it wasn't.
You just died to a normal thing.
Yeah, I just died too.
I
didn't have any time to get out of it.
Yeah, it can be tough. That's why we try to lose spread when it comes out. I mean, our bigger problem though is the encapsulate. For weeks and weeks. This week was probably the first time that like we had encapsulates, or maybe last week was, where people didn't die. But before it was like guaranteed. The encapsulator was dead, and then 2 people were dying like every time.
Yeah,
I'm not in that pile, so I don't have to move because that's the tank. So
we had a good way to heal it. We did shaman. So 2 of our shamans, depending on because we did 3 groups, 2 range, 1 melee. So we had 2 shamans that they could NS heal the encapsulate target if they needed to, or heal them up real quick if they're standing still. So depending on which group they're in, and then our COH priests would heal the group of the people that were getting encapsulated. So, instant heals with the COHs, even if you're moving and running. And if you had to, shamans would heal with NS on the person who, or a druid if they needed to NS the person that was actually encapsulated.
I think it was.
Sounds like a good strategy.
It was. What was the time? I wasn't in there, but I was watching it. Someone was streaming it, and Harskare, like, did you call right or left instead of north and south or something one time?
No, it was. So we had gone south, and then the dragon didn't move, and my wires got twisted in my head. So I was just like, stay south, forgetting that we always reset right to the middle. So people just stayed right in the middle, and we got the entire raid breath, and it was a mess.
Yeah, this goes back to how reliant we are on Harskare to tell us where to go. And I think one time somebody, I think Yip was like north and Harskare was like south, and then everybody just stopped in the middle. Like,
the problem was Harskare was dead, so he didn't have a
That's
good
what it was, and I had a really bad angle.
Like, yeah, he said he had a bad angle, so I was like, I should start calling. So when a middle one came, we both said opposite ones to go to. I was more north, so I just said north because I reset to middle, and I was like, north seems clear. And I said north, but he said south, so everyone stayed in the middle and got hit.
They're like, what do you mean? Which way?
That was when I was like, all right, I think so. We got to kind of have to learn it a little bit too, to just make sure, like, kind of do like both, because there's not much going on at that point. You can just look up and kind of see what he's gonna do. But
can we go back to this encapsulate thing, because I feel like our issues with encapsulate were less about the healing and more about the fact that so many people got blown up from not moving away from the target encapsulate.
Yeah, you gotta move.
I think the healing problem was on the person who was encapsulated. Like, we struggled there for a little while, but I think everybody else getting also hit by the encapsulate was a larger issue.
Yeah, people taking like 4 ticks of it and stuff. Like,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, Yeah, and again, like I can't see anything. I just look at a dragon, so I have no idea. I'm just nervous. I'm like, oh, here it comes. Here comes the encapsulate. What's gonna happen?
It's a lot bigger range than you would expect. And what's crazy is I think my graphics have been down this entire time, so I don't actually know if you might be able to see it visually better. But it's a huge range. Like it feels like good 20.
The two things you need for success here is you have to have target to target enabled if you're targeting the boss, and you have to have the wherewithal to look at the boss, because she looks at the group she's doing it to. She spins, right? So if you see her spin, you immediately book it. Like that's what you do. So this is another fight that
you can't backpedal.
Yeah, exactly. So this is an outdoor fight, and all you shaman know exactly what I want to say. Enhancement shaman, you instant ghost wolf here is like great. So it's just like hit instant ghost wolf and run the other group. You know what I mean? But other groups have, if you have a movement speed, it helps obviously. But the best way, target to target changes, and seeing her spin, then you're ready to go. As soon as she spins, you move.
Ooh, warrior intervene could be good for melee. Yeah, just
you know,
like intervene to another group.
The attempt that Yip was talking about where I died, there was an encapsulate in melee, and I have a mouse over intervene macro for arena, so I just went to go mouse over into the ranged. A melee jumped in front of me. I intervened back to the melee and died to the encapsulate.
Yeah, I have the same macro, but I click or not the same macro. I have a macro where if I right click anybody, or no, like it's one of my side mouse buttons, click on a frame, it'll switch and intervene to the frame, but I don't have one actually to put over a person. I should make that. That sounds a little easier in arena, but
have you guys had this happen? Where Felmus just doesn't encapsulate?
We have that. We also had where Felmus stays in the air. If you had that happen down.
Yep.
We have not had that one.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yep. That was a good
just
one.
Like,
in frozen in time, just like above.
Could you still shoot him? Because that sounds glorious for a lock.
I forget what happened.
No, we didn't target her either. We had to all hearth out. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh no.
Yeah. That was a pain in the ass. But,
the mass dispelling on that fight too is pretty fun. I mean, a lot of times, sometimes like there were a couple times where, because I was in charge of mass dispelling one group, the other group, and then I remember last week I had changed my macro. I had certain macros I was using, and I was using and then I switched it to like a stop cast macro with it wouldn't show the ground, right? So I had a different one that I was using before, and I was using the stop cast this one now. So I hit it twice by accident. So it started casting, and then it stopped casting, and then I'm like, oh no. Fuck. So I had it kind of messed up this week, but luckily got it in time, fixed it. But a lot of the times, like like getting that mass spell off like as quickly as possible, like was huge. And then
there's a few times where our non-healing priests, I won't put any names, decided to finish their DPS rotation before they and that was he was in charge of doing the melee, and I'd be like, yo dude, come on, you gotta mass dispel us, like we're just
the best was when I was testing my new macro and I'm mass dispelling and it pulls Felmist.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god.
We did that. Yeah, we did that.
Yeah. I know that I got a new macro probably like the second time we went to Felmist for Mass Dispel, because it was like, why is my Mass Dispel not going off? And I had the same group as like another priest, because I think at that point we had 3 or 4 priests, and I'd be like, okay, I am dispelling. There's just nobody to dispel once my dispel goes off because the other priest is faster. And so I got the macro where you just hover over, right? And it doesn't, you just click it and it just casts it on the group, and you don't have to like set it and then quick cast and all of that. And
right. Yeah, just make sure if you have a stop casting macro to not press it twice, because then it will stop casting again.
Yeah, I didn't add the stop cast macro because I do my mouse wheel for Mass Dispel, and it was way too easy to just like mouse wheel a second time, and that was ineffective.
Dude, that happened. Okay, like I made a macro for KJ for the shield orbs, and I was like, oh, I can make this super efficient if I put a stop cast on it. But then I was like, I didn't even use it. I put it in the macro, and then I'm looking at it, and I go, "Well, Joe, but I mash it. That'll just like stop casting it over and over again." And then I look over at chat, and they're all like, "No, you can't use that in the macro. You can't use that in the macro." I'm like, "Yeah, guys, I already figured it out. Yeah, sorry, but sorry. Yeah, that would be nice. Like if you could have it like." Because I'm just gonna have to move, and I just always have to remember not to jump. Like as a melee, jumping didn't really hurt me ever at all, but as a caster, it's horrible. Like you lose a whole GCD by jumping.
I think it's too late to think about those things, Bob. Just roll with it. You're almost done.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Felmist is a decent fight. We got it under control mostly once the priest kind of figured out the massive spell stuff, and they do a really good job on it now. But like they go off instantly, and it kind of trivializes that early part. As long as we don't die to encapsulate.
Yep.
Twins gave us a lot of trouble, more trouble than I thought. I think we were expecting to have. We went into it using our trinkets just for when there was a Shadow Fury stun on top of a conflag person. And I think that, I mean, we got kills that way, but it always seemed really, really tough on the healers. People would like, it was kind of like a DPS race because people were going to get lost like at some point throughout it. And we would even bring like 8 healers and people would die, which was pretty nuts. So it was definitely interesting. But now we trinket every conflag, and that helps a lot because it kind of frees up healing for tanks as well too. So we don't have to wear like as tanky of gear because Twins actually kind of beats you up. And if the healers are like in crazy AoE mode, the tanks can just like straight die. So the conflag I think kind of helps with that too. So we can have a lot more threat. But our biggest issue with Twins is just that the fight is dumb and broken and the tanks get conflagged.
That's exactly what our issue was.
Haven't done a bunch,
We've lost so many pull attempts to that, it's not even funny.
Yeah, I mean, we there were obviously some healing issues we would have because we were 6 healing. I don't know if we 6 healed or 7 healed that fight the first time, but like perv mending,
at least 7.
I think we 7 healed the first one. Perv mending is great for that fight. You prayer mend the person as soon as they get the fire flame, whatever it's called, flame thing, and it bounces usually to the people on chain heal. Like a chain heal is amazing for that fight. We usually had 3 shamans on that fight: Laraka, Totems, and Chris. And I actually got a 3.1k HPS on that fight. I got 99 on that fight, and 1 week it was insane how much healing went out that one time. I think both Chris and I had sustained over 3k HPS like the entire fight. It was crazy.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, that fight's kind of weird.
What's the
real way you have to do that fight? Like, so everyone stacking on range, that's like apparently not the old school way of doing it.
No, they would do it downstairs by the door, and then conflags would like run off to the side or something like that. It was just everything was downstairs, but kind of. And then I think the ranged and healers would also have to manage their shadow stacks.
Right.
Whereas if you're upstairs, you don't really have to manage the shadow stacks so much.
I see. Okay.
But with the tanks getting conflagged, like, I mean, it would happen almost every other pull. It felt like a tank getting conflagged, melee just boom, dead, right? And it was like, we're trying to figure out like what else we can do. Like, so the way I understand this fight as a tank, right? You want to make sure that both tanks are on top of the threat, right? So that as soon as they get to that third spot, now they're able to get conflagged, right? So, but
no, they were getting conflagged on the second spot too.
Oh, really?
That's what Yip's talking about. That's why it's broken.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why it's broken.
That is what the fight is supposed to be, as far as I can tell, because I don't think it makes sense. Like, it's not a fair fight when tanks get conflagged, I feel like.
No.
You can do it still, but it's insane. And we would have fights where tanks would get conflagged in the second position multiple times in the fight. It was absolutely insane. There were nights where we would wipe for like an hour and a half because every time the second tank would get conflagged, and we really didn't know what to do. It felt like we were doing something wrong. We tried out like doing different misdirect stuff. Maybe it was like how quickly you got to second threat, but it just seems to happen sometimes randomly. I've seen guilds that it never happens to, and so I don't know. I don't know.
We thought maybe it was like if there wasn't enough people on the threat table, maybe it didn't work properly, because we were sometimes just trying to not cast anything and let them get threat. And that seemed to like almost every time the off tank would get it. Like if we just didn't do anything.
Something that you also pointed out, I think it was Yip. Like with the second threat thing is, since the coefficients for like range and stuff is like range needs, I think 130% threat to pull.
Yeah.
On the actual meter, it'll show them third threat, but the physical number will be higher than the second tank. And so I think that was probably screwing up a lot because on the threat meter,
toward the beginning, that was definitely part of the mass conflagging, I think, because it'll be like you can a range can be way below the percentile, but the actual number can still be like much higher. Because especially as the fight goes on. But we were having some insane stuff happen. I was first tank. I got confounded and into a conflag. So I was stunned, then got conflagged, stunned. And it was like, this can't be how this fight is supposed to work. But I mean, we'll still wipe to that. But otherwise, the fight, I think, is pretty clean if you're trinketing the conflags. And then once you get the first one down, if you have most people alive, we've done it with like 15, 17 people alive or something going in. The just killing the last guy is not too crazy hard.
We were talking about how annoying the debuff is, though, after the bosses are dead.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we need to log out. I think you can log out and get rid of it.
That is annoying, though. Yeah.
3 or 4 minutes. So
yeah, Harskare.
Try to heal through it.
Yeah.
Last week, Harskare just let him die.
Yeah.
I was like, no. I tried to sit and eat and like.
Yeah, I think if you eat it, we would just load people with hots and stuff. But yeah,
we had a really weird thing happen our last kill. So Harskare, I don't know if you melee weave, but so we have this. We have a paladin who's like tanking the whatever one stays alive. I forget her name. Anyway, she's putting flame patches down. So the paladin has to move ranged a lot and run around the fire and tank her as a ranged tank. Okay, so we have some pumper hunters that melee weave. So what happens is this goes back to the whole like melee versus ranged threat. They would come in melee weave, come out. And so what would happen was they would come into melee weave, surpass the paladin, then she would turn and put flames all over the raid and killed us. The last kill we hit was, it was almost a kill. She was like at 20%, we're like, she's dead, blah, blah. And then that happens. So we gotta watch for melee weaving. You gotta watch because the threat changes.
Yeah, that's a huge issue that happened on Felmist once. Because I go pretty tanky on Felmist for the corrosive. And I think a warlock had higher melee threat than me, but less range threat. And when it flew down, I let it walk like across the map to me, and it walked through the warlock and turned and punched it and kept going. And it's like, what the heck, dude? Come on.
Yeah, it's like crazy. It's like threats fine, threats fine. Oh, you're a top one threat kill. Then it's just like,
it's absolutely
Could
crazy.
that be the same mechanic as if like you're in a 5-man and a mage frost novas right when you're standing there next to him?
That's a totally different thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just how frost nova works.
So when the AI works, when a mob's rooted, it hit.
Oh yeah, because it's rooted.
It has a higher priority to hit whatever it can versus not hit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's completely different. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it gets a little crazy. But
something I learned too, like. After the first kill I'd been in on, the second one, I was talking to the Locks, and FJ was like, oh, by the way, I tried. You can't cheese doing damage on the other boss for a parse. And I was like, it's not really cheesing. I mean, if you get damage on him, he's like, no, it resets the boss to full health after. And I was like, oh, well, putting Doom is worthless on him then. I was just like, no, I just wasted time before. Yeah, stuff like that, like, because so many bosses like that, like, you can do damage to the other one, while, and then it does help, like, I don't know.
Yeah, if it wasn't bugged, it'd be a much more of a fun fight. You're right. If that threat issue wasn't there yet, I think it would be a much more of a fun fight. Yeah.
Yeah, when it goes right, it's a good fight that makes sense. And like the dropping stacks mechanic, I think is really interesting and cool. And there definitely are a couple ways to tackle it than the way that we all do, right? You could do it on the ground. But yeah, I don't know. It's just so crazy right now. You can just wipe. and it's not preventable.
I do have one more question that I'd love you to explain to the audience, because people might not understand, but you oftentimes on that fight point out to the people your number threat, not your percentage threat. Why do you do that?
We just talked about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, hold on.
But I will explain it again. Your percentage threat is based off your the threat modifier. So there's two things. Whoever's actively tanking has a threat boost. You have to do 110% of somebody's threat to pull. But for ranged, you have to do, I don't even know what the number is.
130.
30%. Yeah, 130.
Yeah.
So they have to do even more threat to pull off you. But if you're ranged and you go into melee range, then that number switches. But for being second threat, we were just guessing that this is the case. It probably is the case that even if you're not pulling threat and you look like you're third, your number threat will still be higher than somebody in melee because your threat coefficient is different.
Yeah.
But that actual threat number is what the mechanics are probably.
Yeah. So Bob, think of it this way. So you let's pretend that Yip's 100, which is just like the number 100, right? And the second tank, whoever that is at number 95 or whatever of Yip, right? So if you're or whatever, sorry, that's the percentage. Let's just say 95, and no one else is there, but you're at ranged. So you technically can't pull if you're a 97, but you're higher than the 95. Does that make sense? So the coding might be like, oh, the 97 is the person who gets the con flag or whatever.
Yeah. So basically, like the 130 doesn't even matter because it's the con flag is going to the number that's higher.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and all threat meters display it like factoring in the coefficient because in 99% of cases it doesn't matter. You only care if you're going to pull threat or not.
Yeah,
right.
That's why all the silly mages die when they go Arcane Explosion in melee range.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they go eat it. But so that was a big problem for us. But Twins is pretty good now. We might get the con flag once or something, and otherwise it just goes down. Muru ended up being the same way for us. We struggled forever, and now it feels like the easiest boss in there for us, which is very pleasant. It's very pleasant for us, but we struggled a lot. I don't know, Harskare, you want to talk about how we did Muru and what you changed?
Harskare worked with a ton of us, like a ton of different guildies and a ton of different meetings going over different things different classes could do. Like you really min-maxed our
he
strategy.
walked amongst the common folk.
So I think the big thing is we don't PTR or anything, so I'm going off information on guides, and I need just the whole time. And I think most guides suggested, pull the sentinel out, have a slow on it of some sort, and then have your warlocks kill those while melee is killing the melee mobs. And we were trying this, and it just felt like the damage wasn't there in our entire raid for it. The mobs would come into the raid eventually, the little guys, whatever they're called, the spawns of the sentinel.
The blood elves or
no, the little spawns of the sentinel.
The void spawns,
yeah.
Oh, little voids, yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't kill those in time. They would come in the raid AoE, or we wouldn't kill the melee mobs in time, and we'd be. It was kind of a mess. And we'd go back, look at logs, and be like, man, these people are really struggling to do damage or whatever. And I don't know if Defcamp or Melderon, you guys can speak to this. It's really easy to get caught up in the trap of my strat's fine. These people need to play better and do it better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where I had to rethink it and be put these people in a position where they can succeed the best. I know I have these people who can do great damage on a single target, and when the target swaps and stuff happen, their DPS just tanks. And a big thing happened with one of our hunters. He was like, look, hunters more than any other class need these physical debuffs, wreck, sunders, whatever, to do real damage. And it was Buttercakes. I know he's one of the best DPS in the guild in most cases. And when he was doing all the target swapping and stuff, it was it got really messy to where people who should be doing a lot of damage weren't. So then I think we just kind of asked everybody to go look what other classes are doing of their spec on that boss, come back to me or any of the officers and be like, hey, for me to perform my best, I need to be doing this, this, and this. So we ended up doing the strategy with, we cut out all slows on the sentinel spawns, arcane bombed and let him come into the group, and just everybody in the entire raid blew him up. And then we also put like 5 or 6 people who were struggling switching targets on Muru full time. And this seemed to like, for whatever reason, it just clicked. Everybody was being able to play their class to their like maximum ability, and it kind of just went down. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So for the level of difference, we were like living for a long time with heroisms. We were lasting until like the 6th humanoid spawn. It was like 5.5 minutes that we were on the first phase, and we still had like 15 to 20% left on Muru. Now with no heroisms, we kill him before the 4th humanoid phase. And then push him into the next one. So it's like
you guys are doing the boomer strat then, right? You're not doing the burn strat, correct?
No, we only have one group, and we don't split the groups on 2 sides. The main difference between I think our strat and a lot of groups is when the Void Sentinels come out, we kill the Void Sentinel, and then we don't put any slows on their little ads. We just arcane bomb them, let them come in, and then everybody just blows everything up.
Yeah.
Okay. So we went
started out with the
we started off
2 group strat, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we started off with the Zoomer strat.
Yeah.
Then we went to the Boomer strat. Then we came back to the Zoomer strat. So
that's not actually true. Well, the first strat we did was the 2 group strat. Remember, because the very first strat we did was a 2 group strat. We were doing that, but we weren't trying to burn it as quickly as possible. And then we started doing the Zoomer strat. We tried to, with one group, try to burn quickly as possible. Then we did tried doing the 1 group stack, but doing it slower. So doing the boomer strat. Then we went back to the Zoomer 1 group.
So there was 2 major issues with us. One of them was we really didn't want to do the arcane bombs. We finally relented and did it. It was a huge.
Why not? Just for money or?
No, we felt it was kind of cheating.
Well, you know
what I mean. And I'm not saying everyone felt that way. I'm just saying that like it was kind of like we should be able to kill spots without them. You know what I mean?
But that reminds me of like, God, would we have ever killed Lady Vash pre-nerf without the
right
without the little
Thornlings?
Yeah, Thornlings.
I guess it just feels bad using an expansion old thing to like the first people who killed it didn't use that shit. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of like I think we're a little too prideful. That was not the biggest issue. So the biggest issue
it's hard to know what the first people did though. You know what I mean? Like the records aren't really like completely there, right?
Yeah, but there was no Warcraft logs, but you know, I don't think they could have thought about that arcane bomb. Like that would have been a piece of history, I think, you know.
Maybe
Blizzard would have
definitely used like arcane torrent and other things like that too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
but our biggest issue, we had an issue with tank threat. That was significantly an issue for us. And it was getting a little bit, it was a touchy subject, but it was also getting a lot of people were noticing it. Like when raiders notice there's an issue, right? It starts to spread pretty quickly that it's an issue, right? So people were getting pissed off. They were losing money on consumes. So we had to make a swap, and those 2 things together, we got them down. We got them down within like, 10 attempts the next day as soon as we made those two changes.
We also first started off trying 7 healing, and then we actually did me as going shadow at one point just because we needed another DPS. We thought maybe having 2 shadow priests, 6 healers, because shadow can do a lot of healing for that group as well with the vampiric buff, and then also giving
the mana
back to the healers and the DPS was really nice. But we actually went away from that, so we ended up 6 healing it, which actually felt really good. What we would do is on our kill, I think we ended up having we had 3 priests. We would try to shield as many people as we could, and then just have everyone, healers included, DPS until at least the first ads spawn. We had healers set up on the tanks for the ads. We had healers set up for the void tank. Now the really cool thing was when we got Ale to tank the void spawn. So before that, we were dropping what's the name, totem to
warrior shake, by the way,
grounding.
grounding totem to get the voids
reflecting.
Yeah, so Ale, once he started tanking, was reflecting that and made it a lot easier for that as well.
The warrior tank gets to shine.
Yeah. Also, like, you know, like the thing was you know, we had 2 bears picking up the humanoid ads at first, and you know, now we were able to have one of our paladins do that, because the paladin initially was also picking up the void. So, you know, having a paladin being able to pick up the mobs that were like running towards the healers was really nice, right? So, or having our druid, or one druid that was, you know, doing that well as well. So, as a healer, you really have to watch your threat on that pull, like big time.
If your tanks can't grab them, though, like our two bear tanks, like, have kicked the shit out of that now.
So, Bob, I had to go.
Mirror does okay.
I had to go 5 points.
All I know is I don't die to it anymore. Like.
Yeah, I had to put stuff in Silent Resolve as well. I wasn't there the first week when you guys were doing it. I was out of town, and I just remember seeing poor Pentha and everybody, like, he was always pulling threat, and it was like they took the brunt of it, and then I came in with Silent Resolve, and I was like, yep, see, I don't pull threat.
It's he was a new guy who's just like his first weeks with us were Sunwell progression, so he was like, he was sweating hard.
Yeah, I had always been like either 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5 Silent Resolve, and that was, you know, usually plenty. I actually had to go 5 out of 5 Silent Resolve, and yeah, I was like, I can't even buff forward at this point. But we had a new priest come in the last week. It was funny, and she had 0 points Silent Resolve. I was like, that's not going to work. We're going to need
and
you to,
she died.
respect.
She died a lot. Yeah,
yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. I don't know if I mean, obviously you didn't have a problem with it, but you said maybe the other guy did. We were having issues with getting those ads picked up. And
it's hard. It's a hard fight. It's my favorite fight in there because of like it's like insane that people are building threat like as they're coming through the door and stuff, and it's a huge pain. But I felt like Druid is kind of reasonably apt for it because you can. You know, you have taunt on 1 and swipe is just kind of perfect for 3 people. But yeah, I mean, it's a hard fight, and if with tank issues, I don't. It would have been insane to get that fight down for us.
Yeah, we had a lot of wipes.
Yeah, without. I mean, there were some threat issues for healers at the beginning, but I think we resolved them pretty quickly, and we're still, you know, we're like 50 plus wipes in before we get a kill.
We didn't really have healer threat after that first night, though. Like, it was.
Yeah,
minimal.
Yeah, we did throw in like that was like a 3-hour night though, I think, right? Where we had like almost 30 wipes, so it was the brunt of our.
I think it was 22 or 24.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's crazy because I'm sure everybody did this because I just saw improvements across the board. But I did a whole bunch of just trying to really up my game. Like I changed like the Bish. I have the Bish trinkets, like, but I instead, you know, used Skull and Quags because casting quicker in that fight really matters. You know, getting like 2 seeds out rather than just 1 on those voids before they get into the raid is huge, so that they pop. You know, that type of stuff. You know, if you're on Curse of Wreck. Knowing, hey, every two minutes I got to stop what I'm doing and get Wreck back up on Muru. That's very important. You know, like these different min-maxi things that you just do with your own class. But I'm sure everybody did that because, like, you just saw, like, you people just improved a ton by the end of it. And
I think Sunwell forced everybody to kind of research their own class a little bit better, right? And that was cool because you couldn't just play mediocre and still clear the content and be fine, right? Like before, there wasn't a whole ton of fights that required you to be like, okay, I need to figure out what to do as this class and this spec, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I was going to say, I think, Yip, you were there for this, but one of the coolest things like in the history that happened with our guild, I feel like it was during Muru progression, and it was a night after, you know, countless Muru wipes. One of our resto shamans, Elizabeth, reached out to me. He's like, hey, I have a few ideas. When can we talk? And this was after a Thursday raid, so we were done raiding for the week. And I think it was on a Saturday or Sunday. I was like, hey, yeah, let's jump into a Discord channel. So we jumped in a Discord channel, started talking about like different things, and slowly more and more people from the guild started joining the channel and giving more and more input. And it was really neat. We had like 3 different raid setups as far as groups laid out. And then like people really learned a lot during that like little session. And it kind of organically came together, which was really neat. Everybody was like super positive about it, even though we had done like 40 wipes on this boss already. Everybody wanted to come together and figure this out. And something that we found out is like Trank Totem abuse the heck out of that for healers. Like having 2 shaman in the resto group was really, really key for us, I think.
Yeah.
And did you feel like in that environment people were more apt to ask questions rather than during raid?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people are kind of afraid to speak up and ask a personal question when there's 25 people in the channel.
Yeah. That's really cool.
I think looking back, and like one thing I think we probably could have done better is because the thing is like we really wanted to practice one strategy and get that down, and then we ended up switching strategies and then going back. And I think one thing that we probably looking back could have done a little bit better was to like look at because like we were looking at what certain classes did really well, and we ended up having our mages like help with imp blizzarding and stuff like that. But one thing I think like as a healer was trying to make sure that we went in there because like there were times where we were trying to maximize damage by kind of screwing the healers by a little bit, but like not having healers having shadow priests, not having healers weren't able to have you just said the totem the player totem because we had a paladin in that group as well, or had someone in the group that couldn't have it in there because there was a tank in that group, whatever. So there were some things that I think we could have probably done better, but I think once we got down to seeing that okay, we can 6 heal this, we can do it without having, I think we ended up putting like at least one of the healers in the Shadow Priest group, and then we had the other priests that they needed to, they can get innervate. Once we got that down and we got the arcane bombs in there too, and we got Ale in there, and it was just like everything came together and we were able to do it. And I think that was like one of the times I think when we saw how where you really just need to make sure that you don't overlook something, right? Because like every little piece is so important on a fight like Moro, where everyone's job or what everyone does is like really important to that fight. Whether it's a healer, whether someone has to, like throttle down their threat, with healing and stuff like that. Like you really can see like how just each individual, and this is all of Sonar, right? Like the individual's job is so much more important. We're in Classic, right? One person can get away with doing whatever, you know what I mean? But like as time goes on now through TBC, each individual is very important, and what you do is going to really, make the whole raid go or not, right?
Yeah, I think a big.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, it had to be a big period of growth for us too, because in our first like 35 wipes, we weren't even close, and I think that was something that egged on our people coming together to like figure out what to do. It wasn't like, okay, let's keep at it and we'll get it next week. We were all like, oh my god, we're not going to kill Muru like this. Like something has to happen here. And that I think was like a big thing with people coming together. I think it can break some people. I think some people sometimes not be interested in that, but luckily we've like cultivated a good crew of people who like wanted to make sure it happened.
Yeah, I gotta say one thing. I just want to say Boogie brought up a really good point too, because we also had a lot of people going on vacation. So we would go in with like 1 week we'd have a great group. We had like 4 warlocks, we had all the perfect healers, and then next week, 2 of our healers are gone, 2 of our warlocks can't come. And it was like we had like 3 weeks of that where we didn't have our best, we'd have a different comp almost every week.
Yeah, Def and I were part of that too. We were on vacation for a week.
And locks are important on that fight, man. It's crazy how much more locks make the fight easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It was the most challenging, but it was also the most rewarding kill for sure for us.
Yeah. For us, I think one thing too, once we got Muru down, we felt very confident about how we got Muru down. Like more confident, I think, than we feel about Kalyos to this day, right? As to like what can happen, right? I feel like we figured out the mechanics and we were confident we could do it again, as opposed to, I think the first time we got down twins, it was kind of like a hodgepodge of, okay, we could probably do that again.
Well,
right?
That's what, like, right after we killed Muru, I think it was Jasmine said, well, I don't know if we could do that again next week. And I was like, well, I think we got it down pretty good. I mean, our first attempt, we got it to 1%, you know, and then we dropped it on the third. That was the first time we dropped him. Like, it was just 3 attempts that week to get him down, right?
I think so, yeah.
It was, for us, it's always the last poll of the fucking night. Always.
Oh, always.
It's like a meme in our guild. I say, all right, guys, this is the last poll of the night, and then we kill the boss.
That's funny.
And I'm like, why? It just pisses me off because I go through like 20 scrolls, 20 agility and strength scrolls, and those are hugely expensive.
Oh yeah, it's insane. The last thing that I have to say from a tank perspective that, well, it's not really a tank perspective, but it made the fight really easy was holding the humanoids just directly in the raid stack, and instead of trying to run them over to the void spawns for AoE, when we started arcane bombing using no slows, letting everything run into raid and then blowing it all up, push the humanoid damage. Like we were going from like tanking a couple of humanoids still to when the next ones were coming out. Suddenly they were like going down with like 10 seconds left for us. Because we were just kind of holding it there and not slowing and stuff. So it really made it a lot better.
Exact thing.
Yeah, and dragging those mobs around is insane because one of them casts.
I guess
so
just
like the whole time.
Yeah, I guess just for me, it kind of feels bad. I know it got the boss down. I know it helped us immensely, and you guys too. I don't know, man. Something about using, I don't know. And you could just say, oh, well, it's engineering, right? Like that's the benefit of engineering. I get it. I totally get it. Same thing with the Thornlings too. It was great, but it just doesn't feel right. You know, does anyone else feel that way? I don't know.
I think it feels neat.
I was gonna say I understand your perspective completely, but I feel like this is like part of the charm of playing the older versions of the game. Just grabbing all the tools you can and throwing it at the bosses.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's like interesting use of game mechanics. Like I think it's neat, you know.
Yeah, we came about it in a nice way too. We weren't like, ooh, the cheese stratus arcane bombs. We were just wiping. We were just blizzarding them, and we put together. It's like, well, these are stunnable and novable, so maybe we can like stun nade them. And then we're like, oh, maybe we can frost nade them. So we tried them with frost nades to see how that worked and if that helped. And then someone was finally just like, I think we just arcane bombed them. So it was like a lot more natural coming up. But yeah, I mean, it definitely, I do feel a way about cheese strats, but when a boss is beating you down that hard, I think it's
for sure. I get it
about it. The Thornlings were bad though. The Thornlings to me, those felt really weird and bad. Like,
can we talk about phase 2 of Muru though? Because I feel like phase 2 of Muru always seems to go smoothly, but I feel like I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to spread out from people, then trying to avoid like the void zones, and then all of a sudden I find myself like right in front of the boss with the melee running at me, and I'm like, what is happening? And I go back the other way.
Yeah, I exactly. I feel the same way as melee. Like the first phase for us is super easy and chill. Like everyone else is losing their fucking minds, right? The warlocks are losing their minds, the engineers are losing their minds, the tanks are losing their minds, the healers are losing their minds, and melee is just like, okay, we run out of this shadow and just keep DPSing, right? But then the second phase happens. You're like, oh my god, where am I standing? Is there a thing I can purge? Oh my god. So like it's the exact opposite.
I need to get out of this. I need to make sure I'm away from this person.
Yeah, exactly.
I had like on our, I think our first kill, like during phase 2, a void, like the little circle on the ground, void zone or whatever dropped, and it was half in the small circle and half in the big circle in the room, and the part of the big circle didn't show up. And so I had just got freaking rezzed, like battle rezzed, and I throw a buff on, and then I start walking, and then I just like look down and I see the other half of it. I'm like, oh god! And so of course I try to jump over it, and like I just completely die again. And then I just like threw my hands up in the air, and I was like, I am the weakest link. I was so mad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that last part is crazy, but it seems to be a lot easier. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's like we never really have trouble with the last part, but I just feel like I'm running around like a maniac. Like, and I also have to compete with the warlocks who refuse to move, away from each other. So
we do have trouble with the last part. I think that the moving is a big part because we were dying with like multiple times we have wiped with him having like 50k or less health. And that comes down to like minimizing how much we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off. So it's hard. Like I've been trying to get better, but our first couple of kills, I was all over the place just I'm like sprinting away from these like darkness balls running around, and I'm just like, I just don't want like we need to make sure people are hitting, but then like the casters have to move up and stuff.
Nothing's more terrifying than being a healer standing there and seeing all of the like melee and the boss running at you, and you're like, yeah, you gotta go somewhere.
It is hectic, but I do think when we finally got the KJ, I think the last phase of KJ was the most hectic. I think
a lot going on there. Yeah,
you don't think so?
Everything.
It's so easy.
Not hectic. Well, maybe the fourth phase then, like when the meteors are coming down.
Yeah,
and like everyone's constantly getting the fucking buff, and you're like,
After the ads die at 25%, after the clones die, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I feel it's GG because everything. I don't know, because everything comes out and stuns him, and there's the RP going on, and
it's the fourth phase. Yeah, it's definitely the fourth phase.
Yeah. For us, it was the phase before that was hard. Yeah, for sure. That was the phase that was the most hard for us.
Let's move into Muru. Muru was a big pain for both of us, but how do you guys do now? Do you worry about wipes coming back to Muru? Or is it pretty?
Well, we've only killed him twice, and that'll be the total amount of times I ever kill him. So
the second time was much easier for sure.
But it still took a lot of time. It still took a lot of wipes.
It took us a few wipes, because we also had a totally different healing core and a lot of a different group of people too. So
we were blown away. I was taking bets on how many wipes we'd have that second week, and we just one shot it. Like it was whoa.
It's night and day for us. Like everything has clicked, and it's become like
that's really good,
pretty solid now. If we die
that second week and then kill them, and then I think this last week we one shot.
We've only killed him twice though.
No, we've killed him 3 times.
Oh, okay. Then Mel's right. My bad.
Yeah. But even then, like the wipes are at like the Entropius 5%. Like it's like so close. But yeah, I mean we're in a comfortable position with the mirror now. But KJ gave us more trouble than I was expecting personally, because especially I mean everyone hyped up Muru being like the Muru is the real end boss. KJ is easy, but KJ had like a more clear learning curve, because you just like are slowly piling on these mechanics and learning them and progressing through it. But it still took us a lot of wipes. I don't know what the number is. I don't know if we've looked, but it was still dozens of.
Let me just say, when I watched Jordy's video, like before the first time we went into KJ, I watched Jordy's video and I was like, okay. Oh, yep. I have no idea what's coming next, because I feel like I just heard a novel of 20,000 different mechanics that were going to come out at me, and I just have no idea what's happening now.
Yeah, I have to say the videos made it 10 times worse than it was. At least for me. Again, I'm melee, right? So like all I had to do was like if I got the burn debuff, move away from people, not get hit by a meteor, and collapse in on the fucking thing. Like that was it. Like you know what I mean? But I know other people had way harder jobs, but like for me, it was just like.
I actually had a ton of fun on. I think killing KJ for me was like killing Mora was great, but killing KJ was the best moment of Sunwell. Just because it being the end boss and all, but I feel like so I'm where I was a good spot and a bad spot. So I'm right behind the tank as the healer. So I am on the converge spot, which also means if I get the flame dart buff, I'm in like the worst spot to like move away from people. Everyone's around me, right? So I would get the buff.
Or did you spread out?
we spread and then we stacked for the for the buff for when KJ would do his thing. So if I had it and everyone would stack, like everyone's running towards me, so I would have to try to like kind of make my way to the back wall, but there's like 4 people behind me, so I'm like, oh, excuse me, I need to get through, and it's just, and then you have to wait for everyone else to be stacked, and then the buff goes off, then you can run in. But like I said, it's like being in the best spot, but also the worst spot. So, right. So like I'm right there for the stack, but so I felt so bad for the healers that every time you would see, it was always like totems and someone else that would come and they would almost make it. And then the thing went off and they would die. They wouldn't make it in time for the stack. And I'm right there. I'm just like, I don't have to move anywhere.
A big learning curve for that part for us is everyone had to learn that they can't sneak in at the last second because it has to apply a buff to you. So we had so many times where like every pull someone was like with Fire Bloom trying to stay out and be conscientious of other people, but they weren't getting in fast enough. And then you have 2 people dead or 1 person dead. And then you do enough of those that like you just don't have the DPS to push the next phase. So that was a big problem for us, I think, starting out.
Then the shield orbs start really slow, like just 1 comes out, and then 2 start coming out, and then 3 start coming out. And like something for me that I struggled with the first wipes was like I would switch to the shield orb, but like it would die before I'd get a shadow bolt off. And I was like, man, this is driving me nuts. I'm just wasting time. So I switched to using a macro that targets them and Searing Pain. I was able to get a lot more damage on them and waste a lot less time. Also, at the very end, I gotta shout out Fru TV, because even though Oshley was just like trolling the hell out of him in chat, he was still helping me, like, and he had me like after the ad phase every time, he had me starting to run in and get the haste buff, which was huge. And so I'd run in and then run back out. And like, we weren't really doing that with the ranged. And like the last like 2 attempts, I got a lot more going because of that tip. But it was hilarious because he was like basically trying to raid lead in chat. And Oshley was just ripping him. She's like, he can't see this right now. And he's like, I know, he'll see when he looks back at it. she was just giving him all kinds of shit. And he just kept going. So it was great.
Yeah, getting those extra buffs we went from like just making DPS checks to obliterating them just from when the first transition happens, when you kill the ads, we all stacked and got a buff then. And then went to DPS this is before the shield, right? This is like just and so that was huge. And we actually were like, do we even need the lust? Because you don't benefit from lust as much with that because it doesn't stack. So it's like, of course we still lusted, but I'm saying like our first
isn't that why you lust first with the melee? I think Yip came up with that during.
We started just lusting right as KJ comes up.
The only reason we didn't do that because there's no point.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter that much. It doesn't stack. And the first thing the dragon does when we want to lust anyway, the first thing he does is blink haste our melee. So it was like there's no.
Oh right. So
lust doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah. So we stopped having him do that. We just had him lust the whole raid. And there was times where we'd all stack up and then we get lusted or whatever the hell it is. But then you gotta be really fast because like he'll do the
fire dart or flame dart.
Flame darts. So you have to get out really quick. But we got it down, and that was huge for us. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the biggest issues we had, like getting to the phases, was we kept on losing people to the ads. So the ads would spawn. We would get the warriors would spawn, and first of all, they would just like we kept on. They would always beeline it like right to poor Malphite, or one of our druid healers. It would just like beeline it right to him, kill him. Or Chris immediately. They would just kill like one of our healers immediately. And so our tanks had, we're getting better at picking them up. But then, the melee run, and then they just start whirlwinding and they just kill everybody. And they're like, oh my God, dude, they just killed like half our fucking melee.
I feel like we didn't have much trouble with the ads, did we?
Well, our paladin take was really good about calling it out early, stop cleave, which I think helped a lot.
Yep, we did the same.
Out of curiosity, how did you guys handle the person that was going in the dragon? Did you guys run 3 tanks on this? Did you drop a tank? Did you have one picking up ads?
We had our first kill. We had a warrior tank and we had a druid main tank in KJ. We had a protection warrior that was hold on.
Bino was getting the ads.
The Bino wasn't in our first kill.
Oh right, we had Biff main tanking. We had Ale.
No. It was
ads,
okay.
Right?
No. It was our first kill was Biffster tanking and the Paladin. That was it. Yeah, and we had Ale help when the Paladin was inside the vehicle because our prod Paladin was in the vehicle. He was in the dragons.
Oh,
yeah. So that seems like
Oh, that's right. It was McBuffington on his Paladin. That's right. That's right. It wasn't Bino.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I
was gonna say, I think that's kind of similar to how we did it. So our second feral tank is he's like a world-class feral DPS. He's incredible. So we're have that dude DPS. Don't worry about tanking. He even respect and everything for that. So we had Yip tanking the boss, and then our prop pally was getting all the ads and doing the dragon.
Yeah.
So the reason, some of the trouble we ran into is the ads weren't dying fast enough for him to get in the dragon, come buff Rejuvanas by the time the flare was coming out, or the dart rather. So we did almost a hybrid strat where we had the melee stack on the tank, and they were the first ones to get the buff, and then he would go buff the ranged. And we had the melee stack on the tank the entire fight.
That's
okay.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have. Yeah, that was one of the. We had issues with the ads killing people, but we never had an issue killing the ads.
Okay.
Yeah. We had issues with the ads just running and killing people. Yeah.
Yeah, we were probably doing opposite things. You guys were hitting them right away, and our guys were just not hitting them soon enough.
So we thought that's what it was, but it's not that. They weren't killing the people that were attacking them. They were killing random people. Right.
Oh. Okay.
So they would spawn, right, and we would say stop, cleave, don't do anything. And I think what happened is the tanks were taking too long to get there. They would break because after 5 seconds they break no matter what, and they would just beeline it to a healer or someone else and kill them.
Yeah, it sounds like they were going to healer threat, and tanks just weren't getting threat on them quick enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had to tighten that up. Yeah.
Yeah, I usually go help if something like that's happening because I don't have to actually be at KJ at that point in time.
Yeah.
So I'll go charge back and try to grab one that's going wild. But it hasn't been that part hasn't been too crazy for us.
I think the ads probably are cause of most of our wipes on KJ, believe it or not. I think it was an issue with getting tanks there quick enough. And the other
people die, we'd have 2 or 3 people dead for the next phase, and then there wouldn't be enough healers or something like that.
So we'd call a wipe early a lot. It's a wipe, just die. Yeah.
Funny enough, ours were mainly. I mean, we had some fire bloom deaths, especially with our melee stacking. I think it was easy for a lot of fire blooms to hit a lot of people at once, especially because we would have we have a mage blink in and then stay in melee too long, and then warlock would run in and stuff and stay in. So the blooms were hitting a lot of people. But I feel like most of our deaths were from the shield and people just coming in too late. And it's just such a compounding problem because you have, on average, 1.5 people will die per shield for a lot of our early temps. So then, you're 4 shields in and you just don't have the DPS anymore. And we're kind of just we fizzled out.
Yeah, my favorite were the times where just getting used to the shield and the dragon mechanic, and poor Gunt with his pet bar not working the way that it was supposed to be the first night or so, and then we'd get in there and then he'd drop the shield and then it would expire right before the thing would go off. I think that happened once.
I do not envy that job at all.
No, I don't either.
So, I would not want to have to be the guy.
Looks like it sucks. Yeah.
I do think shield orbs were a big portion of our difficulty.
Yeah, I think the fire bloom deaths that we had, it was always shield orb hits and then they died to fire bloom, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, the shield orb is just in the positioning, especially if you're positioned on the back closer to a wall, it was really hard to angle the camera up to be able to see. So I'm basically looking at my butt that entire fight because I'm watching up in the air for the shield orbs. Made it a lot easier with the macro, and I shared that macro with one of our other locks, and he was like, dude, that was night and day. So it just made it easier to be able to target them quickly but like just seeing them and like knowing when they're close enough, because your target macro will work whether they're in range or not. You have to like really kind of know when they're there, and so I don't know. That was a big pain. There was just a lot going on in that fight. The stupid spikes that shoot down.
Spikes. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Dude.
I think it was really nice. Harskare at one point goes, "Okay, guys, this is the only time the spikes come out. Just watch for spikes. Just watch for spikes." And that kind of helped me. Like, oh, okay. I could,
and the spikes are so obvious to me. I don't understand. Now I can get melee.
Melee is rough. I don't get it.
That was the issue. The melee would get hit by them. Yeah.
Yeah, but the problem the melee was getting hit was not because we were melee.
It's because you couldn't see them,
we weren't.
Right?
No, we weren't moving them fast enough.
Yeah, so that's exactly what was
the reason why melee would die to spikes was because the ads would get picked up by the tank, and we would say, "Tank, you got to move it away from the front of his face because there's less of a distance for it to travel, and 2, you have to move the mobs." So our tanks were dragging them. As long as they were dragging them, melee was fine. But if we weren't dragging them fast enough, we would die.
Because they would just keep going to where
it would go like this. Like, because she would one of them would tank him in front of KJ's face, and it was just like this. Like the spike would come out and kill us. You know what I mean? It wasn't like
we purposefully do that.
Yeah,
we like do that on purpose right now.
Yeah, we're like trying to min-max DPS. We should do that, actually. We should bring him away from the boss. That'd be probably way smoother.
What you're describing is just our strategy. We're all stacked. They're getting whacked by spikes.
Yeah, that's that's why we're moving them, because like basically they just come out of his face and go boom right on us. Like there's like no reaction time, and everyone's like, "Melee, stop getting killed by the spikes." I'm like, you want us not to kill the ads?
I think what's happening now. Yeah, I think what's happening now is melee are on ads less. And they spread around KJ a lot of the time. We'll all get hit by one, and the people are like, "Oh god!" and they start running.
So the only time we're talking about when the range, like when I see a spike hit like the warlock and then the mage and a healer, right? Like, I mean, I'm looking at my healing bars, but I feel like there's so much time that spike is coming just directly at you.
Yes, that you're correct.
Yeah, no, it's a very easy mechanic to dodge if you have time to dodge it. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's just like
sensory over.
Armageddon, but
I can't.
Okay, but I feel like that phase 4, I think, when there's like spikes and the Armageddon fireballs and like
shield orbs and everything's everywhere.
I feel like it's just chaos, and I'm like, I think I'm standing in a spot where nothing's going to hit me for the next 3 seconds, but I could be completely wrong, and I could be about to get bombed with a Armageddon.
It's so easy to miss the Armageddons. I feel like it's like sensory overload. Everything looks the same. So much is going on, and I'm like, suddenly someone will be like, "There's one underneath us, run!"
Right, dude. On our first KJ kill, I hate dying on a first kill. Right?
It's like Cthulhu. Remember he died on Cthulhu?
I got double penetrated by tentacles. Yeah.
So what else, Melderon? What else has he died on first?
I think a lot of fights, actually.
No, that's not true. So we would stack, right? And my spot was on the stack point, right? So as soon as you stack, like the Armageddon is going to come to that point because everyone's there, right? So the Armageddon started right before everyone left, and so I'm sitting there and I noticed at the very end that I'm standing on the end of the Armageddon. So I run, and you can see I have it clipped. The Armageddon comes down, and at the very end I'm like out of it, but I guess it just batched where I died on it. And I was so pissed because at the first you couldn't see it, right? Because everyone's stacked there. And that's, I think, why it's so easy to miss it too, because like when everyone's stacked on that point and everyone's running out, the Armageddon has nowhere else to go because it goes on the person, right? So it's going to go to that stack point. And I was so pissed, man. I was like, God damn it. But I was calling every percent. I was like 5%, 4%, 3%, 2%, 1%. And then he died. And it was like such an awesome feeling getting KJ down, because it's like you have now the entire expansion behind you. You know what I mean? And it's like you did one of the hardest raids that we've ever done together. And at that point.
So that's the question. Was this harder than Naxx?
So we
talked about this a little bit.
What's that?
I say yes. I say yes only because the average difficulty is much higher. Nax has a ton of bosses with some highlights that are tough, but I think Sunwell has like an insane average difficulty per boss.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think Nax without world buffs.
That's what I was going to say. That was my, that was my
Nax will have to be another story.
I think as a healer, Sunwell was infinitely harder than Nax.
Yes.
Oh, good point. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Sure. It was like a, I mean, it was probably good for us. I think our healer core grew a lot, especially because we don't have like a heal leader or anyone who's like comfortable taking that position on. So it's always tough, and it falls on Harskare a lot to just like on the fly be like, well, what's going on? And like, how do we fix this? So like, I think we really like nailed it down a lot better.
Penta and I bonded as our holy priest duo, you know, talking about different things, and
nice.
It's great.
Nice.
So how often did you get COH this fight? Oh, only there's only 90% of my heals just now. That's
Listen, it was the worst when we went to like KJ, and I was like, well, crap, nobody's stacked up close enough.
I know.
Healing to mean anything. Now I got to do something else. Like
Renew was king on that fight. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Permanent and Renew and Shield. But
I do think it was harder than Nax, but I would have liked to do Nax with no world buffs. To see what that would have been like.
We killed
every boss without world buffs, but not
like a whole raid night.
Yeah, not a whole raid. We like, you know, we killed KT without world buffs once. Mm-hmm. We killed
but after you had all the gear, right?
Right. We killed Saffron without it once.
No, more than one. It was more than
it was once without any world buff.
Yeah. It was more than once because we wiped so many times, and then we would wipe, and then we would go back with no real buffs and then kill them. You know.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
I know for sure we killed 4 horse once without world buffs. We felt pretty good about that. Yeah. I can't remember Saffron or KT how many times.
I don't know if we've ever done Saffron no world buffs.
We did KT though.
I don't think so. KT whatever was too.
Our first kill was without world buffs on KT.
I think that might have been the same for us because we wiped a couple times, so it must have.
Yeah, we had wiped, and it was probably like last pull of the night, everyone, and we killed it somehow. That's how it always is.
Always,
yeah.
I mean, mechanically, Sunwell is definitely harder.
Yeah, for sure,
100%. And there's definitely a lot more. What would you call it? Like single. Responsibility on the player, right? Much more that because Nax was still the days of 40-man raids where you could have a couple people that weren't someone could die and it's whatever, right? But if someone has Fire Bloom and they fuck it up and they kill 4 other people, right? There's like so much more responsibility on the player, I think, and that happens more so as the expansions go on. But I feel like it was a good mix of player responsibility and other not just being it's a DPS race or it's this. You have healers who need to do certain things, you have DPS need to do certain things, and tanks doing their own thing as well. And I feel like it was whereas Nax was difficult, but it was difficult for other reasons too, right? You know what I mean? I think
it was mostly I think Nax's difficulty comes from it's the first time where the 40 people actually have to do something together. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Before Nax, you could have people sleeping and kill bosses.
Yeah, 100%. I think Nax was more coordinating the 40 people.
Yeah,
do what they were supposed to do than it was mechanics for individual classes and things like that.
Yeah, Sunwell definitely rules though. All the mechanics are awesome. I have stuff to do as a tank. The rest of this expansion was pretty boring as a tank, I would say. This is the only interesting raid.
Yeah.
I would say for healers, it's the difference between trying to get the fastest heal off so you can heal somebody before somebody else heals them, because that was the only way you were going to get healed. Yeah. Versus
I still can't believe how much of a huge letdown BT and Hydra were, though, for me personally, as someone who never did it. That was it was super.
The thing I was looking forward to the most, but
yeah, me too.
I enjoyed Black Temple. About Hyjal, definitely.
Nobody
at least as a lock, I freaking wanted to I just wanted to just curl up in a ball and die.
I mean, I enjoyed Black Temple only in the regard that I hated Tempest Keep and SSC by the end of the tier.
Yeah,
I was I hate this dumb raid. I don't want to be in here. So it was I think it was refreshing, and I think reasonably timed raids. Hyjal got boring, but it only took an hour. It's kind of like a medium ground, but yeah, I don't know.
I think we need to go over like our first night killing KJ though, like and how crazy it was.
KJ was nuts because it was like I feel like we didn't luck into a kill, but I feel like we accidentally killed it. Like I personally didn't think we were gonna kill it. We had a really nice run. We killed Muru with how long left? Probably an hour, 45 minutes.
11. It was almost 11. So we had an hour left in raid.
Yeah, so we had an hour left in raid.
Yeah.
And we one-shot Muru. And we didn't wipe on hardly anything. I think Felmis we wiped twice and Eldor Twins we wiped once. But other than that, everything was like a one-shot. It was like a really smooth raid.
Yeah, we one-shot Twins too that week.
Oh man, that's
we were just flying through. We killed Muru, and our first KJ attempt was pretty decent. We didn't hear right off the bat, which I think I know it doesn't seem like it helps, but it does make the fight shorter, which I think is like still good. So we didn't do that, and then we had a good attempt. I don't know what percent it got down to, but I think it was like one of our best attempts yet. So maybe right at the 25% mark or like a 29% mark. We had still been struggling. Yeah, we had still been struggling at that point to like get that far. And I was just hoping like, oh, we're gonna have a refresher night. We're gonna like make sure everyone remembers what all the mechanics do. Our second attempt goes horribly. I think we like lose some people on the way in, like from the mages.
Sometimes those like first mobs for some reason, like sometimes it's like smooth, and then sometimes I'm like circle of healing like half mana by the end of the first like 3 mobs, and I'm like, what is happening?
I feel like I could be wrong. Maybe we're calling for this, but when all 3 mobs are arcane bombed, I don't know why we're wasting stun DRs into them. And then like by the time the last one's not arcane bombed, then like the stuns don't do anything anymore. So that happens sometimes. But we lost a couple of people there, which was unfortunate. But then we go in for a third attempt and we just kill it. Like everything was smooth. We lost 6 total people. All of them had onks or soul stones. So everyone was alive at the end. And it kind of felt like going into phase 5, if you have mostly everyone alive, it was pretty easy. Once we had the 2 dragons up, like as long as shields are coming up and everyone's running in to the shield, we're pretty much going to kill it. And that was exactly what happened. It was like shocking. I was like, oh, all right, we'll just do it in 3 pulls. Like it's like we weren't that close before. It was like our first time sub 20% and it goes all the way down. So it was pretty.
Yeah,
right. And we had like 2.5 hours left of raid.
Yeah, 2.5 hour
left
run.
Of raid, and we were like, oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah, we're done. Like, all right. I think most people were expecting at least a Thursday kill, so that was nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it was a great feeling.
Well, you guys talk about your guys' first kill. 3 I mean, they were pugs that were pretty well vetted, but didn't you guys have 3 pugs for your first KJ kill?
No, we didn't have any pugs.
Was Excellence and was it
I
the night
swore
that
Ale said
we had no pugs for KJ for sure. We had an alt for KJ.
Oh, maybe it was they had an alt for KJ. Yeah, there was one night where we had Zexcellence.
We had people come in, but we never killed any bosses with them, unfortunately.
No, we killed bosses. We
never killed. Our first Muro kill was all guild, and our first KJ kill was all guild.
Because Ale.
Oh,
Ale couldn't.
Bob, I think you're confused because Ale's actually a pathological liar. So
yeah, because Ale was good at
3 pugs in the raid, though. Yeah,
because there wasn't like we had 3 pugs in the raid. Yeah.
Well, was it your second KJ kill or something? Like, because it was.
No, that was all.
I thought it was. It was a Monday night, and Ale ended up going to your raid. He was like, "All right, we're gonna try KJ with 3 pugs. Wish me luck."
Yeah, and then they probably didn't kill it. No,
maybe it was an attempt we had on there with the 3 pugs, but it wasn't. Yeah, I don't think it was the night we killed, because I know we got. So you guys beat us on Muru, and then we got KJ down before you guys did, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what happened was one of those nights, maybe that we already killed Muru, that we were attempting on KJ. Maybe it was something like that. Yeah. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, it was really nice because Excellence came in, No Hit Jerome came in, and it was someone else, forget. And they all came in, and I mean, they were pugs, but they were great players. You know what I mean? They're stacked and they got really good stuff. And I think they definitely helped us out because, like we said, we had a lot of people on vacation. We had a lot of people who were just not able to make certain nights. And I think that was one of the biggest struggles that we had, was that our roster was changing every night. Our healing comp was changing every night. You know what I mean? And that was a really big struggle going in to Sunwell, where you need, a certain amount of healers, a certain amount of DPS, and this and that, right?
I feel like our raid's been pretty good about having enough people that we have like pretty consistent fill-in people, right?
Yeah, we're in a super healthy spot right now where we have DPS fill-ins, we have healer fill-ins, where I think we're at 29 players. So there's always people sitting, which is tough. And it's tough to manage, but everyone's been really cool, and we've been able to cycle in people in and out really well. And we have a big loot sheet where people can fill out like the stuff that they don't care about as much, or the bosses they want to be in on.
Yeah,
so we can cycle people pretty well. And we have like the depth, I guess. I mean, it's not that deep, but those 4 extra people are not like 4 like people who can't make the cut. It's just like 4 extra people. So like with any comp, we can kill stuff.
Like you consistently bring them into the rotation, so it's not like if somebody's out, somebody else is filling in for the first time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like they're getting the playtime on every boss, so when we do have people missing, it doesn't matter what our comp looks like, we can still kill the bosses.
Except for when Mel's gone, we can't do anything when Mel's gone.
Yeah, we usually just cancel raid when Mel's gone.
Like forget it. What's the point?
Yeah.
I feel like Mel's gone the most, so that's definitely not true.
Yeah, I mean, the spreadsheet is just a thing where you put, if you don't have any BIS gear, it helps. I mean, they basically they might talk about it at officer, but they make Yip be the bad guy and bench everybody, so that like everybody's just like, God damn it, Yip benched me.
Yeah, that's how it goes. It's tough to bench people, but we have the best group of people to bench right now. It sucks to bench somebody who like isn't confident, or like will take the benching very personally or something. That's where it's the worst, where they're like, what did I do wrong to get benched? But usually it's got nothing to do with that.
I feel like I used to get excited when I'd get a soul stone, and now when Harskare's like, put a soul stone on Mel, I'm like, oh damn it, I've been dying too much, haven't I? That's why I get a soul stone now.
Well, now we're out of progression, so we're back to just like full-time auto soul stoning.
I know, I was kidding though. It did get to the point where we had to soulstone specific people because they were usually the ones that died first or something.
Yeah, well, some bosses, it just makes it easier. If like Fell Mist, like let's just make sure if the priests die, they'll be coming back up.
Yeah, I think
I will say every time Bob says I'll soulstone Mel, I'm like, why? Why are you the one that's going to soulstone me?
Dude, I am so meticulous with it now. Like you see, like I walk right up to the person, I stand on them, I click on them, and I cast. And if they move, I stop and I redo it again.
Bob became a pro.
Bob has soulstoned himself like multiple times when he's asked to soulstone a hero.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was.
Every time it's like I don't know what happened. I was targeted on that person. We're like, sure.
I now like while I'm casting it, I literally hold my breath and I'm like,
I thought you were gonna say you hold alt or something like that. Like, oh, that's why.
No, I don't. Like, it drove me nuts because everybody's like, "Oh, you're doing it on purpose."
Like every time, like, come on, Bob.
But I think one thing that's really cool about both of the guilds, and maybe you guys just want to talk about it a little bit as leadership, but both of these guilds went through the entire content MC through Sunwell Plateau as a guild. Like that's a pretty big accomplishment. Do anybody want to talk about what that was like to kind of end it out here, or what that's been like?
I think that for me, like the reasons why I was able to do it, or why we were able to do it, is I think if I have one thing, like I'm not the best battlefield strategist, I'm not the best player. I'm not like the brain behind every decision. I'm really good at judging, I guess, what people are good at and putting those people in positions of power. I think that's why we're successful, at least for me. Like, I'm going from my perspective, right? Like, if you're asking how did you do it, like, that's, I think, step number one. Step number two is I'm a good mediator. I try to look at ways to, if there's a hard decision to make, I try to look at the one that's most logical, but also the most perhaps kind to the guild at large. I'm really good at that. But when it comes to everything else, like, you got to get people to do those things. Like, I can't sit here and recruit. I can't look at strategies all day. I can't, try to figure out like what is the best optimal comp for every fight. I have pointers and I have suggestions for all those things, but it's not, everyone had a job. Like, Defcamp was more of the human resources / hype guy. Talix was the recruitment / guild bank / administrative stuff. Navik was the raid lead and brains to all the polls and strategy. Ale was kind of helped everyone do those things. I feel like Ale didn't have like a specific job, but Ale did, like, he had specific, and he's gonna listen to this and tell me go F myself. There's definitely things that he did. He was really good at like doing surveys and he was positioned
to also really, I mean, he headlined the loot list too, right? He like,
loot list. Fuck, Jesus Christ, he did all the loot. Sorry,
spreadsheet.
So like, and then Bino was another officer who was kind of like the guild administrator. Guy. Like, he would get like he would get like some raids, like side raids and extracurricular activities figured out. He would do all the gem fills and stuff like that. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, if you want to lead a successful guild, you have to know the right people that are going to help you do it and empower those people. And then you have to like look at big picture stuff and be like, how is this going to affect the daily player, right? Versus an officer versus a healer versus a tank. So that was what I did. And it feels great to see us end like this. We didn't end in a breakup in the middle of an expansion. We didn't like stop playing. We killed all the bosses. That's all I wanted. That's all I promised people, is like, hey, here's an environment where you can play and we're going to see all the content. And we're going to kill all of it. That's all I promised. And we delivered on that. And I'm glad that I was able to do that.
I have a little insight on it too. I think so. Our guild came out of a single raid team that was in a mega guild, and when that mega guild broke up, we, decided that we wanted to keep our raid together. And I think one of the things, looking back now, that Melderon, I think, and myself, and then other people got involved, Talix, and when we got more people involved, Navik and Ale. When Melderon and I first sat together and said, what we're going to do, we wanted to make a place that was a great environment, respectful, friendship, and we cared about the person, the player, more than just the content, but we also wanted to see all the content, right? So we knew that we wanted to be, hardcore enough to where we could see all the content, but we also wanted to take the person, the individual first, right? I think that's something that we did really well. And I think Melderon, something that I've noticed about him is, like, Melderon, he has a way of bringing people together. He really does. And there was something that, almost kind of like that, and I think this is really important in a GM, right? But they almost have that I don't know, to me at least, I see like Melderon.
He's going to call me old. He's going to call me old.
No, I was going to say like the fatherly figure, right?
There it is. See,
Papa Mel. We call him Papa Mel. You know what I mean? And Melderon was, even like he said, like, he was really good at finding people to do specific jobs, finding people to do certain things. But at the same thing, our guild, our environment that we created was a place that we didn't want people to feel like, they're, yes, I mean, we wanted people to get world buffs and classic, and wanted people to come consumers, all like that. But we wanted people to feel like we weren't going to just, throw them to the wind if they didn't meet certain quotas or didn't have certain parses or things like that. We always worked on the basis that, like, the guild together would get this and we would get there. And I think that was something that we really like instilled, and we, had become a family like that. And, we're at the point now where, you know, with Melderon leaving, some people are going separate ways, some people are going in other directions. But like looking back, when I see how much we're able to do with, you know, being that kind, not being the most like, you know, hardcore guild or whatever, we really did accomplish a lot. We really did. And I think, you know, I mean, some of the most fun I had, right, playing in the game was like, you know, like there was a lot of clips and stuff I was looking back at, just like goofy stuff and stuff like that. And like, I would much rather be in a place like that is like, you know, being in the, you know, like, you know, yelling at each other, like, you know, yo taunt, you know, kind of whatever, all that kind of just like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of environment, right?
Taunt.
So, yeah, well, like, I mean, like, you know, and I think that's something that when I play this game, that's something that I want to make sure that, you know, continues. Like if I'm going to play it in a way where I'm having fun with people and, you know, like whether it's, you know, Melderon or obviously he's not going to be playing in the future, but I think like that's something to keep in mind, like going in the future is like this game, we play it because, you know, we have fun playing it and we enjoy it. And I think there were times when I remember back in original Wrath, when things had gotten out of hand, when, you know, Melderon had left and I was, you know, in charge of the guild back then. And I realized like, this is something I don't want to do. I don't want to run a guild. I don't have those qualities to do it by myself. And like where it started to feel like a job or whatnot. And like, that's the thing is like, you want to, I think it's important to make sure that the game never feels like a job. It never feels like something that you have to get on and do. And like, oh man, I don't want to raid tonight, or I don't want to go on like that. I think that's something to keep in mind too, right? To keep important, to, at least for me, is to make sure that I'm always having fun and not, you know, doing it like it's like a job or something like that.
That's something that Harskare has mentioned to me before specifically. That like this is a game. He wants people to have fun. He wants people. Harskare, do you want to? And Yip, do you guys want to talk a little bit about Varg?
You want to go first, Yip? You want me to go first?
You got it. You're the GM.
Yeah. I mean, I guess going from MC to Sunwell, super proud of the guild. I feel like personally, I lucked into a great group of people, from Officer Corps to, I mean, everybody's heard of our legendary guild bank, which has been awesome. Kim running that with Mira. I think the main thing, I guess, that I have is perseverance. We haven't given up is all. And I guess seeing where the guild came from, which was I wanted to start a guild in Classic because I was playing with like 12 to 15 real life friends. And I knew we could never, ever all join a guild together. And that's the reason I originally started it, to today where the only people left from that group are my fiance and one other friend, really. And the guild's just like flourished into this awesome thing. And I've made like tons of friends and everything. And I don't know. It's been an awesome journey. I don't know if Yip, you add in whatever you want.
Yeah, no, I think a big thing is we've had a very consistent officer core too. We've never had like, I think officer drama is a guild killer. But we've all been like super chill, or if we have any problems, we handle it in officer. There's not like, we don't let anything like spread out to guild for the most part. Like none of the when we make a decision, none of the officers are like, I can't believe Harskare wants to do it this way and stuff. You know, like we usually have each other's backs with whatever gets decided. And then yeah, like we've just cultivated people. Like we've gone through a ton of people, but by having like a consistent officer core and having like a lot of people we all have like a couple of friends in the guild, which makes up like a decent sized core, or people we've played with since Classic who know what we're all about, that it kind of keeps like the culture pretty easy. We only ever have to recruit a couple people in, and if they don't work out, they don't work out and they're not like a good fit. And the people that we've brought in, we've just been kind of like hammering at the guild since the beginning of Molten Core. So I think like we've only ever gotten like healthier and healthier as a guild, is a good way to put it. And I think that's like every iteration of the loot systems. I think the loot systems are actually a good one. We've iterated our loot system so many times to cause as little friction as possible. I think that's another big one that you know, we leave it up to the system and people aren't getting mad at each other. Very rarely do I feel like people in the guild get mad like at each other for stuff, which we try to keep it that way. So
yeah, that's really good. That's a good thing to curtail too. Yeah. So it's usually chill. And when people are like super burnt out, like people are usually covering for each other pretty well too. You know, people get burned out all the time because we have a lot of us have been playing since like phase 1 Classic, and that is nuts.
But as long as people show up to raid, we get through it, and it's been good for sure.
Well, just talking about it from Harskare is one of the most even keel people I've ever met. Like, I mean, he's able to. I mean, he's got to get angry at times, but he's able to not really show that, like, hardly at all, ever. And I mean, just the way he looks at different things, and, I can only speak for me, but different times I've had different problems. He really comes back with, like, something that, like, really makes sense to me. Like, I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, I didn't think about it like that, and that's a huge thing for a GM to have. Like, power doesn't seem to have ever corrupted him at all. And then Yip is like, basically, has become the enforcer, like he's like, I'm going to, we're doing this, and you kind of need one of those guys, that isn't afraid to, like, take some backlash for, for instance, benching people and stuff like that. So yeah, I think, like, I don't want to talk about, like, there's a bunch of other officers, but they're not here. Just specifically talking about the two guys that are here. Like, that's something that I've seen going through this guild.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of similar approaches to things, and that's what makes us successful. Or, yeah, it was for me, but is still for you guys.
Speaking of which, any plans for the future of Varg? You want to talk about?
I think a lot of stuff is still in the works. There's definitely going to be changes. I want to level up the guild like we did from Classic to BC. I think the guild is just like light years better, healthier at the game than we were in Classic. So I want to take that same step for Wrath. And nothing's set in stone yet, but we have a lot in the works. I think Yip can speak to. We have a lot of ideas floating out there. So
yeah, I would love to see a bigger portion of, like, alt stuff as well too. We messed up at the beginning of TVC. We were, like, slow to get a second raid or alt raids going, so we ended up with a lot of people either leaving who could have helped us in a second raid, or we ended up with, like, alts. We have a lot of alts who, like, are in GDKPs, or a lot of alts that were in other guilds at the beginning of TBC. I remember a lot of people were in a funny way kind of, like, making a stand, like, fine, I'll just leave with my alt then if we're not doing alt raids and stuff. So, like, getting that kind of stuff online will be easier, I think, with more 10-man modes, but also just, like, Wrath is really good for that kind of stuff. So I think that'll be a lot of fun to.
I feel like finding that balance after 40-man raids, right? And after, like, everybody going through Classic, and as long as it took, I think TBC, most people, dungeon farm to get up, and, like, there was a lot of burnout, I feel like, at the beginning of TBC, even, that the idea of starting alt raids for a lot of people was like, oh.
And honestly, the biggest, I'm just glad we don't have to deal with squishing a 40-person raid down to 25, especially because so many people were bringing their friends into the guild. We had so many. We had our 40, probably went down to like 32 or something from people who didn't join us in TBC, and everyone brought 2 friends, and it was like everyone thinks they have a spot for some reason. We have 8 warlocks. We've got 7 rogues. It's like, what is happening? How do we handle this? But you don't have that kind of crazy growing pain this time.
We had 3 rogues, but it felt like 7.
We had. You're forgetting about a couple other rogues.
We had 5 at the very least.
So,
well, I don't count Slip because he couldn't make our raid times.
You probably forget, but Stricken played at the beginning of TBC.
Oh, he did. He helped me with one of the quests. Yeah, I totally forgot that.
Then Cade's brother, K-Kick or something.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. I'm totally wrong. It actually was 7.
We have a hit, but like none of them were like in contention for a spot really, but they still wanted to be. So it's like it's just such a hassle to try to squish everybody down. So we won't have that problem. I mean, the friends will definitely come. I'm sure for Wrath, but it won't be as like horrifying of a squish where we like main raiders who've been raiding with us for 2 years almost like don't have a spot because of their class choice or something. We had to get people to reroll shamans. We had I'm trying to think, like I'm pretty sure a couple of our shamans like did not initially level shamans. They just didn't have a spot on their main character, so they like had to go level shamans. Like, it was pretty insane at the beginning. Of them. Yeah, Skeet was one of them. Where
Papa another one, or did he?
No, I think he wanted to play a shaman from the beginning.
He's the only original shaman, I think.
Yeah, he's the only original shaman.
Elizabeth was, and Viscount was the original shaman.
Yeah, but they pieced out. You know, that's its own worry as well too. So. Everything will be so much simpler and easy in Wrath. I'm looking forward to it. We don't need to be as crazy with comps. There's a lot more overlap, and then we have a much more like fine-tuned team. And we'll probably implement some more interesting stuff where we have more guild activity, because I know a lot of people are going to be playing alts and stuff like that.
Yeah, it'll be neat. And
I think the enjoyable part of our guild is that I think we can clear content, but we also have fun while doing it. And it sounds like Melderon and Defcamp have the same thing, right? Like we want to enjoy ourselves, and yes, sometimes it gets to a point where we have to ban gambling during raids because people aren't paying attention. But for the most part, I mean, everybody likes each other and everybody has fun. And I can't say that I'd still be playing Classic if we didn't have the group 100%. Of people that we have. Like,
and we saw that with a lot of people who leave the guild too. It's like you leave the guild and you just quit the game.
Yeah,
if you've been in it for
like the grass is always greener, right? Like you see it in jobs too. People leave jobs and then they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, never mind. That was better."
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about there. All right. Well, anything else? We've went on a banger of an episode. We probably should go ahead and start wrapping up. Right,
I just want to let people know, like,
just go ahead. Closing thoughts, guys.
Obviously, Melderon, he's, like you said earlier in the video, he's not going to be playing in Wrath. I am, right? I am still going to be playing. Obviously, our guild, the way it was before, is not going to be anymore. So I'm still, like, figuring out. I definitely plan on tanking in Wrath. I don't know where I'm going to be exactly yet.
Come to benediction.
Who knows? Maybe I can talk to you guys about that. I mean, I have some things up in the air that I'm thinking about, but you guys sound like you have a lot of fun. So I would, who knows? We'll see what else is going on with you guys. But like for me, it definitely. I look back. My most fondest memories playing this game has always been with my brother. Having those. Some of the best like clips that I see now are some of the most painful to watch, like when we died together on the hardcore and this, that, and the other. But the moments that we had together, the fun ones, some of the old videos that we did, like with me and Melderon just messing around in Red Ridge Mountains, doing DJ Khaled sounds and stuff like that. Yeah, those were some of the best memories I had. So I'm definitely going to miss Melderon in the game, but obviously I'll still see him in real life, and I support his decision 100% and wish him the best of luck in the future, brother.
We are going to miss him on this show so much. Yeah. Like, it's so fun, like, to have him on and just get to talk to him. So that's going to be a bummer for us.
You're going to miss me bitching and complaining about the changes Blizzard is making to the harem in Black Temple.
Yep. Yep. And how much it sucks to like fly in planes. Yeah. All of it.
Yeah. Well, it's I've come back before, but I don't see myself doing it this time, at least not for a very long time. But it's been great. I really
he said it here first. If we get Wrath Classic Plus, he's coming back. So
maybe. But I just want to say thank you for all the people that watched my videos, all the people that like watched Defcamp stream, and it just was a huge, amazing thing. Being able to go to BlizzCon, meeting devs, and I never thought that I would be able to get that far. Like, okay, I'll make a YouTube channel, try to get Classic WoW launched. Not only did it launch, I'm not saying that I had anything to do with that, but like it launched, but I got to be part of the, talk to devs and tell them how I feel, and hopefully they took some of that to heart. And wow, so it's huge. But thanks everyone, I really appreciate it.
It's awesome. Any closing thoughts, Yip or Harskare?
That was such a beautiful note to go out on, Bob.
Okay. All right, guys, we're going to close it out. I'd like to remind everybody, if you want to see when we're going live, you can do so by following us on Twitter. That's WC Reloaded on Twitter. If you want to follow the Mash Those Buttons Network, you can do so by following the MASH Network. If you want to send something longer, send those emails to wcrpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to join our Discord, more people have been joining, so we've had a little bit of conversations like popping up there. It's mash.gg/Discord. So join that, and maybe we can actually start to grow that. I just launched it. It's really bare bones at the moment. I'm going to add more stuff later, but we do have we finally did a Patreon. It's like just a small thing. It's patreon.com/Warcraft Reloaded. It's weird for me. I don't really like Patreons, but we're going to do it. We're not like, there's not really huge benefits. The first tier is really nothing. It's just like, you want to help us. The second tier is, I will be putting, for that tier and up, I will be putting the uncut, audio of the pod up just a couple hours after we record. So you'll get it before Monday, just a couple hours after we record, whether it be Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And then the final slot is you will be basically a producer on the show, and we will mention your name at the top of every episode. So if you are interested in that, check it out. If you have any ideas of perks we could add, let me know. I would love to hear some ideas. Launching that and trying to learn from that. If you want to help us in other ways that are free, you can leave us reviews on iTunes, leave us stars on Spotify, jump on the YouTube that has been growing recently. Give us some likes, give us some comments. That'll help. Sub to that. We've got the new clips channel. It's really slow to grow, but we'll just keep on plugging it. But yeah, that's how you can help us, and we thank you guys for whatever you can do. Okay, shoot, Mel, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at MelOverwatch, or you can find me in game on Melrina.
Okay, and let's go. Yip, where can we find you?
Hello, you can find me on Twitter and YouTube at The Yip Show. I make videos now. Come look at them.
And I saw you have a new series, too, that just popped in recently.
What, some lore stuff? That one?
I saw it last night.
Edwin Van Cleef.
Yes, yes.
It's a little true crime podcast style lore video. I didn't put a lot of effort into it. There's no video attached to it. It's just me talking. But it's like true crime podcast style, talking about the life and times of Edwin Van Cleef as he rules an empire over Elwyn Forest, Red Ridge, the Stormwind Kingdom. And yeah, I'm just trying out a couple lore delivery things that I thought would be fun.
Sounds like some Alliance propaganda to me.
It is Alliance propaganda. Listen, you frame things through the victors, and the victors live in stone castles. So
yeah, okay.
Awesome.
We're like the Dothraki. We're gonna come get you out of your stone castles.
And Harskare, where can we find you?
On Benny in Varg.
No, come on, dude. You streamed the other day the worst BTG DKP ever, and you had like 35 average viewers. Are you not going to do that anymore?
This is true. I don't know. I don't know what my plans are. Originally, I wanted to start a Twitch stream just to be able to watch back arena games and kind of critique play and figure that stuff out. But that Black Temple, although it was a disaster, it was a ton of fun to have people in there talking about it. So we'll see. And that Twitch is twitch.tv/Harskare.
All right. That's HARSKARE.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Defcamp, where can we find you?
Yes. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Defcamp. And you can also still find me on YouTube at Defcamp and Melderon TV. Either one, I stream, right now about 3-4 times a week on Twitch. Plan on starting to stream more, hopefully around 5 or 6 days a week, and have some new stuff in tune for YouTube coming up soon as well. So keep an eye out for that.
Awesome. And Melderon.
You could find me in LA.
Living the life.
I really don't have a thing.
You can meet him in the streets now.
Yeah. You can help me in the fight against the homeless. No, I'm just joking. That was terrible. It's a meme. It's a joke that we talk about because the homeless people like to torture me. But anyway, just support my brother. That's how you can find me. So,
thank you, brother.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. You can find me streaming our raids, this show, and streaming other things at times at twitch.tv/BlazinBob. No underscore there. Whew. But it is official. Longest episode ever. It's just we like planned this, and then Blizzard's like, oh well, when you're gonna have 6 people on the pod, we're going to put out a ton of Wrath news. Like, it's just, what are you going to do?
Well, I think we covered a lot of stuff.
We did. Did. Thank you guys for your time. And thank you, everybody who showed up in chat. Thank you, everybody listening at home. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
See you guys. Peace.
Bye.
Peace.
Thank you very much for checking out Warcraft Reloaded podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any future content.